Hello, everyone. Welcome to another DCU Daily. Apologies for the late start, but here we are. We are here. Luckily, there's no triple feature today. It's just this. We're good. It's just going to be us for a couple hours, and that's it. So hopefully we can get done on time, and I can actually get some sleep tonight. But probably not, because I'm dumb. But that's beside the point. Hello, everyone. We're here to talk about all kinds of news today. A lot of box office stuff, obviously, with the next upcoming Avatar film. A lot of stuff in regards to that. Not just box office stuff, but James Cameron talks about the upcoming sequel to Avatar 3 with Avatar 4, but who knows if that's actually happening, because, even though this thing is probably going to make $2 billion, he still is casting a lot of doubt on it, and he kind of wants to focus on other things. So we'll get into that. And then starting in 2029, YouTube seems to be the people that are going to nab the Oscar ceremony, televising the Oscar ceremony, that is. And with that, it's going to be available for free. So we'll be able to watch that on YouTube, and it'll be a hell of a lot easier than, whatever the hell they're doing now. So, of course, we're going to be talking about that. And then, of course, MCU Weekly. Of course, we had three big trailer leaks. 2 for Avengers Doomsday and 1 for Spider-Man Brand New Day. They're all but confirmed that these are most definitely the actual trailers that are going to be appearing in front of Avatar Fire and Ash. And so we will be talking about those a little bit more in depth. I know Dan was talking about it yesterday, and I talked about it a little bit on DCU Daily, but we're going to be talking about it a little bit more because obviously more stuff has been coming out about it. And then, of course, we do have a little bit more in regards to the Warner Brothers Discovery merger bid. A lot of stuff in regards to Paramount just losing. They are a bunch of losers, and with that, oh well, they are going to have to deal with being losers because Netflix seems to be the reigning champion, and it's probably going to stay that way. So while it may be the death of cinema, at least another rich asshole doesn't get in charge of another company. So with all of that, of course, we do have our quick hits as usual. And then our DC quick hits, the Ducks, Parrots, and Pelicans of the DC universe. We will be talking about that. And then, of course, talking a little bit about Supergirl, the next film in the DCU that is coming in about 6 months. So all of that and more. Let's get into the show proper. Have some fun. Let's go. Get that news intro ready for all y'all. Bam. Oh.
It doesn't seem to matter what I do. I'm always number 2.
All right, mister, I need to paint my abs on to get nominated. You don't see Robert Downey doing that.
You're kidding.
You're
kidding. I can't open the envelope without the...
Warner Brothers is heading back into the Matrix with a new movie in the works.
Wonder what other surprises are in store.
I want to be Bruce Wayne.
I like that. You're gonna love me.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see Cole's.
Right there.
You look ridiculous.
Well, not no more, he don't.
What, dude? I can barely understand you. Your accent's insane.
What the
Give me a hand up. Nope, I'm actually okay. Thank you very much. Oh, wow. Wow.
And of course, I forgot to turn off the background music, but here we are. And for some reason, I can't scroll past it. So we're stuck with the background music for right now because my thing is stuck. So, oh well. Here we are. But welcome to the show. I can't scroll past things for some reason. I don't know why this. Yeah, my thing's stuck. But I can't leave because Dan isn't here. So, So Dan, can you help me out here?
No, I'm here. I can hold it down. Hello, everybody.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to refresh my page. I apologize. But I will be right back. I greatly apologize for this.
Yeah.
See you soon.
All good. Yep. Well, hey, everybody. Thanks for joining in. Of course, we've got the news. I will be on camera soon. I was just setting things up, trying out a new lighting system. But Let me talk to you. We got so many of you in the chat already. Of course, Acres of Movies was first in. We did actually talk about the Batista Brainiac rumor a day or two ago, so I'm not sure if we'll be discussing it today, but thanks for mentioning that. James Gunn did address the idea. I think we talked about it a couple days ago.
Yellow, I'm here. I greatly apologize
yeah.
for that. I don't know what
All
was
good.
happening with that. That was really
Honka
really
honka
weird.
Caleb. Kyle is actually watching live today. Yeah, we're gonna be talking a lot of Spider-Man. We will be talking about Gil Geralt as well. You know, he was of course our Buck Rogers. Enterprising is watching. Of course, I mentioned Tony is here, hanging in there. Hopefully, you're feeling a little bit better, Tony. John has become the den of nerds. We shall see. Well, thank you again for everybody popping in and watching us live. John, are you
Yes,
doing
we
a bit better there?
we can get into the news proper, and then of course you guys kind of already was saying in the chat, but another person unfortunately has passed on, and that is Gil Gerald. He was Gil Gerard, I apologize. At 82, he was the original Buck Rogers of the 25th century. He left a posthumous message for fans, and it's just another sad day in the idea of Hollywood, with losing so many people. Voice actors, of course, Rob Reiner, his wife, and now we have lost Gil Gerard. God knows how many other people are unfortunately losing us. So, I'm not really familiar with Gil Gerard, but it's still sad to see him go.
I mean, it's one of those things before like the era of sci-fi that we have today, which you could say is the golden era relative to what was around back in the 70s and 80s. I mean, Buck Rogers, like if you grew up in that time, or even if in the 90s and 2000s, like I've actually seen some Buck Rogers of the show, and yeah, it doesn't always age well, but I mean it's a classic. It's if you want to call it a cult classic, all-time classic. He is, another one of those legends that we gone too soon, and this week in particular seems to be just one after the other, as it were. Yeah. I mean, we talk about it, like, John, it seems like there's gonna be, given that there's a lot of older Hollywood celebrities who are from that bygone eras of Hollywood. It's the circle of life, as they say, but yeah, another one, another legend gone, and rest in peace, and of course our thoughts and prayers and best wishes with the friends and family of Gil Gerard. Sorry, I don't want to pronounce his name wrong, but again, not as familiar with his other work beyond Buck Rogers myself. Yeah, Ozzy Osbourne, David Lynch, Rob Reiner, too many this year. I mean, it seems like every year there's a number of names, and I know a few even beyond that. I'm sure you guys do too, John. What do you think?
Yeah, of course. I mean, Buck Rogers. I mean, there was also Flash Gordon, John Carter, Doc Savage, the Shadow that inspired so many like comic book heroes. Yeah, I think it certainly helps that he was 82, which is certainly a good long life. So that definitely helps. But it's still sad to see someone go, leave this mortal coil and all that stuff. So
Yeah, especially like you said, like considering the week we have already had. Obviously we can't even not to mention Gene Hackman, right? So and now Buck Rogers, Joe Gerard gone. So our thoughts and prayers and best of wishes to his friends and family. I'm just grateful that Dick Van Dyke is still around. So celebrate. He just celebrated his 100th, right? That's awesome.
I'm saying I bet all of these celebrities are sacrifices so that Dick Van Dyke can live another year. He's gonna experience the quickening. So like everybody else has to fucking get yeeted so Dick Van Dyke can live another year. So
yeah,
I that's what I remember. I remember watching Duck Dodgers, but I didn't realize it was a parody
that was
of something.
that was obviously the
Duck.
parody. Yeah,
Yeah.
Daffy Duck. Yeah, yeah. It's not. It's like one of those shows. I think they were doing reruns on like, was it Cosmo TV? Like in the U.S., like it's one of those networks that just does reruns only, and
Mhm.
it's just for. I think this one particular network was only for like sci-fi stuff. And one of the, that's, I remember they would have Firefly on there, Stargate, and like I think Buck Rogers for a little bit. Mystery Theater, was it 3005, whatever, 5000, like it was all of these like old cult hits. And that's when I last remember watching Buck Rogers. But yeah, no, it's like you said, it's just a circle of life.
Mhm.
But yeah, let's move on. We got a lot to get into today. We can start off at the box office because Avatar: Fire and Ash about to set the world ablaze at the movies. John, what do we have here? Numbers are looking good so
Yeah.
far, at least.
So
Yeah.
it seems like it seems like that Avatar: Fire and Ash is gonna be going for $100 million debut, which is less than what the other films have made in terms of their opening box office. I think I would imagine it's probably going to make a little bit less than that because I remember we were going over the numbers. Way of Water had like 120, and then that hit like 110, I think, in terms of opening weekend. So it'll probably be around there. Maybe not exactly 100, maybe a little less, but maybe a little bit more. So who knows? But it seems like it's going to do
Well,
okay.
I was gonna say though,
And
like this is just quickly to add to what you were saying. This is a lower number than what we saw in the longer range forecast. Remember, they were predicting 110 and some odd like number like that. And if I don't, if I remember correctly, the original Avatar movie made like 97 some odd million in opening weekend. So they all kind of are in that similar range. That none of them like have opened domestically to like 200 million,
usually, I mean, as
150.
Tony's saying, it's
You
all
know,
about the long withstanding it. Like people keep
yeah,
going back to Avatar. It's not like,
yeah.
oh, they blow their load in 1 week. And this is one of the few movies for some reason that just people keep going back to. They love this world. They want to be in this world, even though the
It's the
writing
experience.
and
It's
the
it's
experience of it all,
yeah.
it's not the writing, it's not the acting, it's the effects, it's the world, and that's pretty much
It's
it.
immersive. Like it's immersive in a way that very few movies are, I feel. It's also, I think, in the, like you said, the case of Avatar, it's always been about you open relatively strong, but then you just like pick things up from there and keep on going. And week 8, Avatar is still making more money than most movies make by week 3, week 4. Now, they're looking at a range of 90 to 105 million. It's going to release in almost 4,000 theaters, which is about as wide as you can get in North America. But if you go into the next article, John, we can get into more of the the worldwide numbers, which they're predicting to land somewhere, depending on who you ask, somewhere between 340 to 365, 340 to 380 million worldwide. That includes the domestic number, which we talked about, which would come in probably around 100 million. So of that, let's kind of split the difference. Let's say 360. Of that number, roughly 100 million comes domestically, and
Mhm.
then that means another, like, 260 has to come from China and all the other big markets out there. That's a huge opening. That's not quite as big as Zootopia 2, which made like $500 million in its opening weekend worldwide, but it's certainly not that far off from what Avatar: The Way of Water did, John. Because they, like, if
Mhm.
you look at, because here's the thing with international releases, it's not always the same territories releasing and like day and date. So I don't know quite exactly if all the same territories and countries and markets are releasing Avatar 2 and 3. Like, Avatar: The Way of Water released in a bunch of countries and most of the world the same weekend as in North America. But I'm not sure if every single one of those is the same here. But they made a comparison, and if you look at like for like markets and even converting it to today's rates, The Way of Water launched with 310. Whereas if you just look at that comparison alone, Fire and Ash is looking at 250 to 275, which is similar to like the Wicked to Wicked for Good comparison, where Wicked for Good came in a little bit lower. But then Wicked for Good has fallen off a lot faster than Wicked did. And that's why Wicked, from last year is going to end up having a higher box office probably when all is said and done than what Wicked for Good is doing. So my question to you would be, John, 306, let's say 340 to 380 worldwide opening weekend. If you scroll back up to the top for Avatar: Fire and Ash, do you think that will give it enough juice to get to I think 1 billion is probably guaranteed at that point, but do you think it gives it enough juice to get to 1.52 billion, especially the $2 billion number, which if it did, it would become the first trilogy of movies with three $2 billion movies. Do you think Avatar will have that lasting power with Fire and Ash, given how high it's going to open up?
I have said this where I wouldn't be shocked if this makes 2 billion. I think it could make 2 billion. Maybe it will, but for me, I think it'll make more than a billion, but I don't think it'll make it to 2 billion. I think it'll maybe get close, maybe 1.7, 1.8 billion. So for me, I think that's as far as it'll go. I don't think it'll make I don't think it'll make a I don't think it'll make the big goal, but I think it'll still make a lot. But again, it's the longevity of it and all, and I think
By the
that's
way,
more important. So
I was just going to mention in this article and a couple of the other ones I was looking at, they're talking about Avatar Way of Water had less competition in terms of what else is out there for people to see in theaters. This weekend, I think there's that new SpongeBob movie from Paramount that's
come on, that's
dropping.
gonna
No, I'm not saying, well, none of those movies are going to be like anywhere close to Avatar in terms of the money they will pull. But between that SpongeBob movie and then that Amanda Seyfried and Sydney Sweeney movie, but I'm forgetting the name of. The Housemaids, like that's a Housemaid. Those two, and then I think there's one or two others. There's more of that kind of counter programming playing against Avatar Fire and Ash than there was for The Way of Water, and also The Way of Water, because of the way the calendar worked that year and when Christmas was in terms of the day of the week, because Christmas this year, for example, is on Thursday. I don't remember. I think it was probably like more closer to the weekend. The year Avatar Way of Water came out, it had a 9-day run before Christmas. Actually, the Christmas holiday came up.
Right.
The Fire and Ash is only going to have a 5-day run before we get to that. So what they're looking at also is it might open a little bit lower than The Way of Water, but it's going to get to that Christmas holiday a lot faster, like 4 days sooner. So that's going to probably help it pick up pace, because a lot of people will just wait till that holiday weekend, because I can imagine like a lot of folks who are working are sort of at that time of the year where it's crunch time, get things done before the end of the year, because then everybody goes on vacation for like a week and a half or 2 weeks. And then for kids, like schools haven't quite closed yet. For some there might be, depending on where you are and what that schedule looks like. We're, as of right now, literally a week from today it would be Christmas Eve. So Avatar now playing in some international territories today and then debuting in North America tomorrow on Thursday. There will be some people who just won't be able to turn up to it until this time next week. So I think that alone might give it a bigger second weekend than what maybe The Way of Water did. So ultimately, I think this all plays in favor of James Cameron. As far as whether this guarantees a fourth Avatar movie or not, we'll talk about that later. but it's definitely going to be
Anaconda as well.
weekend.
You got Anaconda. That's going to be the big thing that's going to stop Avatar from making money.
Yeah. Well, that's still like one of the top 3 biggest openings of the year. 340 to 380. Like worldwide, because it is, I think if in fact that's probably only second to Zootopia 2. I don't think Lilo and Stitch opened as big, because I think Lilo and Stitch had like that 5-day weekend, so that's hard to compare like for like. And then what's the other one? Minecraft, that almost got to 1 billion, didn't have as big of an opening. So yeah, it's like Enterprising was saying, it may not be quite as big as The Way of Water per se, but it's still substantial. So we'll have to see how well it ultimately ends up doing, it if it overperforms or not. You guys let us know if you've already seen it. What did you think about it? If you haven't, then are you excited to go see it? Avatar 3, Fire and Ash, the Fire Tribe. Or anyway, draw your comparisons
everything
here.
Changed when the fire Navi attacked.
They just need an Aang of this franchise. Who's the Aang of the franchise? You just need a.
I guess Jake, or the brother who didn't die, who sucks at life. One of them.
I keep hearing like there's actually more and more like from the reviews for Avatar Fire and Ash, there's even more of a backlash on Jake's character because it's starting to become he's starting to sound like more and more the villain of the series, which is kind of a weird juxtaposition. The whole, you know, you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain,
he
even
was
though
an
he's not.
asshole in the last
Like-
movie. Like, oh, he's like you know, he's favoriting the good brother, and then he's treating like his other kid like shit. And it's just like, I see you now. It's like, do you though? And like, how was this changed? It was like 20 minutes ago, you were calling him a disappointment. It's like, bro, the fuck do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? So I don't know. I think
the characterization was a little messy. Like
a little.
Okay,
Remember,
I'm being
these aren't
generous.
about characters or writing.
I'm being generous. I'm being generous. And also
to be
like
fair,
you gotta,
I think Curie is
you know,
Yang, you know, Sigourney Weaver, like a 70-something-year-old playing a teenager, because that was a good idea.
I guess she is the closest thing to an Aang in terms of like.
Yeah, I mean,
special
she's the
powers.
chosen one. She's like God or something, or whatever the fuck it is. So,
because like technically, Awa gave birth. If she's part born from Awa and part from a human, that's Sigourney Weaver character. I don't know what the lore is behind, like where that character comes from. So anyway,
I have no clue, but the ride's not over yet.
Because look, if you think about it for a moment, John, I'm sorry, I need to do the sidebar because like if you think about it, the way they explain it is the avatar that Sigourney Weaver's character was meant to go into, and didn't happen because she died in the transition. That avatar was pregnant, and that's where Kiri comes from. So I'm like, is this like the Jesus metaphor in the Pandora world? Like it's, like,
yeah,
it's
the whole
like
point. Who did she fuck? No, she didn't fuck anybody. It was like, oh, she, you know, she's just like, we don't know who his father is. I just became pregnant one day, you know, like Shmi in fucking, you know, Star Wars. It's like, that's the whole thing. It's like Jesus Christ metaphor. It's like, it's just like, James, you made Terminator. You made Terminator. You made True Lies. What are you doing, man? What the fuck are you doing? Like,
it's so wild. It's just like you can gloss over it, but if you do start to like wonder, like, wait, what was that about? Like, it's a little like, okay. Anyway, okay. Yeah, I know you were trying to move on, but I just kind of dragged us back in.
Anyway, but I mean, we're still talking about Avatar because James Cameron is like, you know what, this shit might be actually shit. I think I might just want to fucking move on. So James Cameron is ready to move beyond Avatar. The outspoken Oscar winner gets candid about the make or break fate of Fire and Ash's future projects, including a secret Terminator script, as well as Ghosts of Hiroshima, the threat of AI, and all the things that still get him riled up. So essentially this was a very, you know, long article about like, you know, where he is at this point in his career, and you know what he wants to do, even though he's kind of getting older. He's in his, I think, 70s, 80s at this point, or maybe I think 70s. He's still getting older, but he still wants to do so much. So like, I kind of want to move beyond this franchise. It's just like, yeah, so does everybody else. But you know, we'll see. But do you think it's whether Fire and Ash is a success or not, do you think he should still make Avatar 4 and 5, or should he just be like, you know what, I'm just gonna make a book and I'm just gonna move on to back to Terminator and then do Ghosts of Hiroshima?
Look, here's the thing. Even if they make 1.5 billion with this movie, they're gonna make a fourth one. They've already shot stuff for a fourth movie, and if James Cameron is iffy,
readily made movies get dumped all the time. Look at Batgirl; that was entirely made.
Okay,
entirely
no.
And that fucking got gypped.
Okay, I refuse to make that comparison because that was not the same thing. Like, the reasoning behind that is entirely different. Is always going to be the.
I'm just saying, like, okay, just because footage is shot doesn't mean the movie is going to come out. That footage is going to be in a vault somewhere.
No, yeah, Batgirl Avatar, there is a big difference. No, what I am saying is this, because it's not like, because they probably did performance capture footage, and then they might have had some of the human characters already shot because when the kids were younger, or like that, you know, the son that is an actual human in the forget who the not Jake's one of his son. What the bad? What's the dude's name? The bad guy who's now in Avatar too. Anyway,
The Quidditch, whatever the fuck his name was.
Quaritch.
That was it.
Yes. Him.
Yeah, my friend
His
calls
son.
him Quidditch. Calls him Captain Quidditch.
Because I remember when the second one was coming out.
I love like James Cameron is literally taking the meme of like the most racist human being alive and his Xeno girlfriend, an entire plot point in this fucking script. That's like that just makes me laugh. Like
I just
we're
still
literally
remember
getting Passport Bro the movie, and I'm like thrilled.
I still remember when the second movie was gonna come out, and they were like, Quaritch is back, and even Steven, what's the name of the actor? Steven something. Even Stephen he was Lang. Like Stephen Lang. Even he was like somehow Quaritch returned. Like it was like okay, because like the dude pretty definitively gets killed off at the end of the first movie. But anyway, point being, they've already shot stuff for the fourth movie, and there's a lot of inertia behind it in the sense that there's a lot of technology, a lot of investment over time. So I think it's likely they'll finish it. What I expect to happen, like, look, unless this movie completely bombs, which would be really, really unlikely, given how big it's gonna open and how the reviews are so far. Because like even at 70%, it's the Rotten Tomatoes score isn't showing 37%. You know, like it's 70% is still impressive, and that's got to be enough to give us a good theatrical run. And at best, what might happen is James Gunn might take a bit of a break. Like he might go do a couple other things.
Because it's like, as you said, because
yeah,
James Cameron said, we talked about this many times, how he's like, I'm not letting anybody else take over Avatar. Unlike Denis Villeneuve said, he's done after the third Dune movie. So if they continue to make Dune movies, if they're successful, they're going to get another director. James Cameron's like, no, this is my baby. I'm going to see it to the very end. So what I'm thinking is when this is inevitably successful, maybe not as successful as they want it to be, whether it makes $2 billion or not, it'll make at least $1 billion, 1.2 to at least 1.8 billion. We all know that. We all know this. It's gonna happen.
Dude, even The Rise of Skywalker made like $1.5 billion.
Exactly.
So this is like, come on.
Still not as much as Joker.
No.
But you know, so you have that. And the thing is, Fox under Disney is gonna be like, okay, cool, you can go make Ghosts of Hiroshima, you can go make Terminator 17. The robot still looks fake. And so you could do all that, but he's like, you're coming back for Avatar 4, because if you're not coming back to Avatar 4, we are all going to fucking do it without you. And he's not going to let that go. So you know that they're going to make Avatar 4, and they're like, you better fucking be here for that, because we're going to do it without you. Like so many people have said, like, for instance, like when I think it was Columbia wanted to do Close Encounters of the Third Kind. They wanted to do a sequel to that. And they're like, we're going to do it without you, Steven. And he's like, all right, fine, I'll do it. So he do it. And then that ironically eventually became E.T. But it's just like these directors care more about their property and their vision and stuff. So they're going to want to stay. And James Cameron's like, okay, fine, I'll stay. But he might do like as you said, like a smaller movie in the meantime. Yeah. Like I know, like
a Ghost of Hiroshima.
He promised that author, I'm going to make this movie, and he wants
on his literal deathbed.
Like exactly. So he's like, I'm gonna make this movie. So
and it was one of his friends. Yeah, it's
so yeah. I think I think like at the most we'll either get whatever other movie he wants to direct next, and then Avatar 4 or Avatar 4, one of the two.
Yeah. And you gotta like remember originally he wanted to do this as like a trilogy. So Avatar 4 is technically the third movie in the sense that he split up the second movie into 2 and 3 now. So, and then as far as Avatar 5 goes, I think that's meant to be more like a time jump and ultimately circle back to finally showing us the Earth in this world and how it's devastated. So, and why the humans want to be, coming to Pandora to begin with. I just, and that's a big jump probably forward, and then it probably moves away from the story we've been following for these movies so far. But so I mean 5 is probably less likely because dude, James Cameron's gonna be pushing 90 like by that time, but I think 4 is more than likely gonna happen at this point. And 4 is gonna happen. He's probably gonna do a few other things, and Yeah, I mean, 5 is more of a question in my mind right now, because then 5 you would be talking mid 2030s, potentially, or early 2030s. Who knows? Like, it's even at the, like, on the low end, they
It
take
makes
3 years to
money,
make each
bro. I
one.
don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Like, literally, the 2 Avatar movies that have come out so far have made, like, almost 5 billion. If not, I think they have made 5 billion if you look at the numbers.
I think
Because
they, yeah, if I had to say so.
Because one of the first one is now over 2.8, the second one made like 2.3. So yeah, they've already, with 2 movies, they've made over 5 billion, and this one is only going to add like another billion at the very least. So yeah, I think the 4th one is almost guaranteed at this point. But John, there's more to it than that. Let's hop over to the next article, because James Cameron has been talking about, and he mentioned that in this interview, and so we can look at the highlights from comicbookmovie.com, his ideas for the Terminator reboot. And I think if you can read through some of his quotes, it's really interesting, because he not only says that we're not potentially going to get Arnold Schwarzenegger back, but he tells us the reasons for why, and then, you know, what makes him interested in the concept of Terminator in the 21st century to begin with.
Right. So he was saying this before, and he's like, I've got other stories to tell, and I've got other stories to tell within Avatar. What won't happen is I won't go down the rabbit hole of exclusively making only Avatar for multiple years. I'm going to figure out another way that involves more collaboration. I'm not saying I'm going to step away as a director, but I'm going to pull back from being as hands-on with every tiny aspect of the process. Once the dust clears on Avatar in a couple of months, I'm going to really plunge into that. There are a lot of narrative problems to solve. The biggest is, how do I stay enough ahead of what's really happening to make it science fiction? You know, I can safely say he won't be in it, Arnold. It's time for a new generation of characters, which I agree with. I insisted Arnold had to be involved in Dark Fate, and it was a great finish to him playing the T-800. Was it? There needs to be a broader interpretation of Terminator, which I agree with. And the idea of a time war and super intelligence. I want to do new stuff that people aren't imagining. I'm not criticizing it, but I was there for Aliens, 41 years ago? Something like that wouldn't be of interest to me. The things that scare you the most are exactly the things you should be doing. Nobody should be operating artistically from a comfort zone. So essentially just trying new things with Terminator, which maybe could work with James Cameron at the helm of like writing and or directing, because clearly producing Dark Fate was not a good sign for him. I don't know if that's enough. I don't know if that's like enough or not, but like with all of that, I think, I don't know, it's just like Dark Fate was not very good. Many thought it was a betrayal, but maybe he wasn't as hands-on as we thought. Maybe he can do something of interest here. I don't know, but you know, people have been trying to do this for a while. It's like, yeah, the first 4 movies that relatively take place in the same continuity, and then you had and then of course you had like, oh, the first reboot with Genesis, the next reboot with Dark Fate. It's like, well, it's third time's a charm. We'll see. So you know,
yeah. Well, look, I love the ideas, because here's the thing: James Cameron has always been successful because he has always operated at the cutting edge of Hollywood, not just with filmmaking techniques, but also he's a very intelligent, smart man himself. He's always, you know, he's been at the forefront of deep sea diving expeditions and you know, marine biology, which is, you know, that love of his is translated a lot into Avatar. His the themes that he likes to explore and has explored in his sci-fi epics, like Terminator, were revolutionary at the time. Like, you know, today, like, he's talking about doing Terminator, but he realizes that it's not you can't do it the way you did it back in the 80s, because the world has changed. And I love when he says, you know, as a creative, you can't operate from a place of comfort. Because to me, that's like, yes, that's what sci-fi is about. You gotta force the audience to ask questions and think about what they just saw. And too many movies in the past 10 years have tried to tackle AI in a way that just felt very derivative and did not ask those questions of the audience. And I feel like if James Cameron is genuinely, like, the way he's talking about it, again, that doesn't guarantee he's gonna, you know, give us something that's worth pondering over, but the way he's talking about it is promising. That I think hopefully, like, if there's anybody who's gonna give us a Terminator reboot that's worth a damn, I think it's gonna be James Cameron. And I love the ideas he's got, and also just broadening the universe, going past Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think that was one of the big downfalls of the recent reboots, like you talked about, was the fact they kept going back for nostalgia and bringing in, whether it's Linda or Arnold. Like, we just need to go and do a fresh slate reboot and maybe recontextualize the franchise.
Look at all of the movies that are in the Terminator franchise after 2. The only one that's many feel is probably the best one out of all of them, even though it's probably a guilty pleasure at best, was Terminator Salvation, which did not have actual Arnold in the movie. I mean, you had a mocap like version where they changed his face, but that wasn't actually Arnold. So Terminator Salvation, not everybody, but many consider the best out of the post-Cameron Terminator movies or post-Terminator 2 Terminator movies, and that one didn't have Arnold. So I think that goes to show that we're ready for no more Arnold because the best one already didn't have him. So I think that's,
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think the fact that James Cameron is now openly discussing these ideas that he's
and
got,
they never should.
Clearly he's been thinking about doing something other than Avatar for a few years, because you got to imagine, as a creative, after a long time, like literally the last 20 plus years of his life, he's just spent focusing completely on one franchise. He's probably like, I just need to spread my wings and do something different, and there's all these opportunities, and I have the freedom to do what I want, essentially, because I literally had made Disney and Fox before it.
Yep, that
billions
was.
of
I think it
dollars.
got continued in comics, actually.
So yeah, I mean, I've been looking forward to it. By the way, he's also not promised that he would direct this potential movie. He said he's gonna probably write it, and he doesn't guarantee that he's gonna have an end result, as in he's gonna try to tackle the script, and he has a lot of notes. Like, he, I think visually described them as like a couple, like, with a like he's got a couple of inches thick worth of like notes, like stacked, about just the Terminator ideas that he's got. And so maybe
Arnold hasn't been evil since the first one, so
yeah, like maybe he'll write the story, and then and the script, and somebody else will end up directing it. Maybe he does the Ghost of Tsushima like movie, and that's his directorial. That's his, like, I mean, again, not trying to say one is equivalent to the other, but that maybe that's his passion project, like The Last Photograph Zack Snyder's doing right now, where he goes, like, James Cameron directs the Ghost of Tsushima, and then he focuses on just writing the next Terminator, and then maybe you get another director who's gonna be a good fit for that, and maybe like Neil Blomkamp potentially. I don't know what he's up to these days, but you could also get Garth Edwards. Like, there's many other directors who are working in that space who could come in and take a great Cameron script. But again, James Cameron, the director, I think would really elevate a Terminator reboot, but it would just depend on if that's something that he would want to do himself. So ultimately, though, this is great. It's great to see, because for a long time people were like wondering if James Cameron will ever do anything other than Avatar for the rest of his career. And it looks like the way he's talking about it now, even if the Avatar movies continue beyond the one coming out this year, he's gonna want to do other things in addition and alongside to that. So, which is great to hear. So you guys let us know what you think about that, because I'm excited. I want to see a James Cameron-led Terminator reboot. That's for sure.
Yes, but we do have a little bit more in regards to the news. But I mentioned this, but the Oscars apparently are going to bolt from ABC to YouTube starting in 2029. The world's highest profile and most watched award show, not by much anymore, but sure, which has aired on ABC since 1976. So it's going to be 50 years next year that they have been airing on ABC. And apparently they are going to be moving to a streaming-only platform starting as part of a deal that also includes red carpet coverage, the Oscar nominations announcement, and the Governor's Awards, and more, which I think this makes sense because, I mean, it's pretty much been well known that the ratings have gotten worse and worse and worse over the years, and nobody has cable anymore, and YouTube is the most accessible, streaming service / social network. I mean, YouTube kind of is a streaming service. It's free. So, obviously you'll still have to deal with commercials and stuff like that, but it will be available for free to anyone that wants to watch it. So I think this is probably a good move. I mean, I'd be feeling differently if it was like, oh, it's going to be exclusive to Paramount Plus. I feel
So
like that would be dumb, but the fact that it's YouTube seems better to me. But let me know your thoughts, Dan. What are your thoughts?
okay, so the, this is not all how the mighty have fallen situation. It's not that at all. Like, here's how I'm going to look at this, because let me go over the details first.
Yes.
This deal comes into effect in 2029. Like you said, John, that would mean that Disney would have been airing it for like 50 years. In fact, the last Oscars edition on ABC will be the 100th edition. So the 101st edition of the Oscars will be the first on YouTube. And it's not going to be behind a paywall. Like, it's going to be available on YouTube for free to anybody who's on YouTube. So you can go on YouTube and starting in 2029 and you'll be able to watch the Oscars. What I love about this is they're gonna put the governor's awards and all the other, the technical awards and everything else that happens, the red carpet coverage, the behind the scenes stuff. The YouTube Oscar channel has already got a lot of content on there, but now everything from the Academy of Motion Pictures and Arts and Sciences will be there. And I think that just increases the reach of the Oscars. The Academy wanted to have a big streaming component in whatever next deal they were gonna get. And Disney, believe it or not, had only just streamed the Oscars for the first time this past year, where they put it on Hulu while it was airing on ABC, despite the fact they've had a streaming service like Disney Plus for several years now. So the focus was, we want to go streaming, we want to broaden our horizons. And while Disney owns the rights currently, and they will expire in 2029, to the Oscars worldwide, beyond the US market, they sell the rights to individual broadcasters on a country by country basis, meaning that because ABC is not available everywhere else, obviously, if you were living in Belgium, for example, or I don't know, the UAE, like you would have seen it on a local network, there. So thank you, Tony. But now with YouTube, it's kind of like Netflix. They've got, by the way, the Governor Awards is where you get the honorary Oscars, like, Tom Cruise got this year. But now with Netflix and like a YouTube, in this case, YouTube we're talking about, they've got global reach, right? Like, Disney Plus is available in most countries around the world, but not quite everywhere. YouTube has over 2 billion, almost 3 billion users, and they're available literally everywhere outside of the countries where they might be banned. And so you immediately increase your reach, and so they will probably get a ratings boost from it. The way you chart ratings now will be different too, because like the way people look at views, like, hey, welcome to the family, the YouTube family, if you want to say, because we are on YouTube, right? But as far as people talking about the decline of the Oscars, look, yes, we have talked about it for the last few years. We did a watch along for the Oscars, like back the year the slap actually happened. So I was thinking about doing another watch along next year. It would be interesting if you're doing a watch along on YouTube while the show is on YouTube as well in a few years' time. But despite the ratings having slid over the years, the Oscars are still by far the highest watched, the most watched, and the highest rated award show of any award show across television, whether it's the Emmys or the Oscars, the Golden Globes, or the Grammys. They are the highest watched. And they're still the highest watched broadcast outside of like an NFL game. Like, the numbers are not what they used to be, but a lot of that has to do with more just network TV declining than it has to do with the idea that not as many people are watching Oscars. I think more people. That's why the Academy wanted to have a streaming component, or mostly be streaming, because that's where people watch their TV.
Although
now.
they fucked up last year, or earlier this year, because Hulu crashed out before Honora got its award.
Yeah, no, exactly. So I mean, I think like all of that, keeping that in mind, with Google, you've got obviously Google with has the money to spend on, and YouTube obviously part of Google, as you know that. And they went after this not only just as an opportunity to become the new distributor and broadcaster of the Oscars, but this is also a deal where Google has now invested a bunch of money to help digitize like over 52 million of, like, not every single one, but a lot of the 52 million memorabilia items that the Academy has as part of the Academy's museum. So this is a much more comprehensive deal that goes beyond just broadcasting the Oscars. And let's be honest, guys, like Caleb was talking about, the prestige of the Oscars on YouTube. Get real. It's 2025. Most people who have just Netflix and YouTube. That's all they watch. And we have talked about it in the past year. It happened this year, I think, or last year, where for the first time, the majority of people watching YouTube were watching it on their television. That's a fact. Like, you look at the numbers, more people watch YouTube on their TVs now than they watch them on their phones, their laptops, or, their tablets or whatever. Mm-hmm. So YouTube not being as prestigious of a partner is a total, like, inaccurate statement. This is going to be, this was going to be inevitability, and now I think in 2029 we'll get that. So I'm excited for this because, again, it makes it more accessible. And recently I've been watching some NFL games that I have the Sunday ticket for, which is on YouTube TV, but you can actually then watch the games on YouTube as well. And I kind of sometimes just switch over to YouTube because there's a live chat. Like the fun of the show that we do is like, you guys are in the live chat and we have a conversation. There's a little bit of an interaction. I'm not saying that's what they're going to do with maybe they'll add that as a component into the Oscars once it's on YouTube. But it's fun because you have real people that you're watching
different from YouTube to ABC. Both. Yeah. One's a TV network, one's a streaming service. They're essentially the same thing. It's just one is like a server somewhere, and then another is like
not even
from a station. It's like not even
not even.
What is the difference?
It's all digital now. You're not getting like everything you get, like the local ABC station. Even if you are the rare person who's watching it with a tuner on your television with an over-the-air digital signal now, that's still coming through an internet source and servers. At the end of the day, everything. The idea that TV channels, whether it's cable or network television today, is not running on the internet is total falsehood.
North Korea, and that's it.
Exactly, dude. Like, I'll admit it to you. For somebody who spends a lot of their time working on research and just consuming movie and news and TV show content and news all the time, I watch more YouTube than I watch a lot of streaming services, and I'm not the only one. Like, we have been talking about it throughout the Warner Brothers Discovery sales process. YouTube actually is the highest watched streaming service, and by a big margin, because Netflix and everybody else comes in. And while Netflix has a big lead on everybody else in terms of the premium streaming services that you pay for, YouTube is by far and away like way ahead. So I think this is as good of a deal as the Academy could have landed. It does change the game, but you're seeing more and more stuff. Netflix has NFL games on Christmas Day. It's Amazon Prime's got Thursday Night Football. Like, it's happening. Apple's got F1 starting in 2026. They've had the MLS for a little while now. So more and more of this stuff will happen. In fact, I think there was another award show. What was it? Is the Grammys or the Emmys? I think now are going to be on Paramount Plus as well as on CBS. So other award shows are doing the same. It's just in this case, I think the Oscars landed on what is a bigger platform. Let's be honest. More ABC has, and all the other channels that Disney was having deals with will not give you the same level of reach and accessibility for the average person that YouTube will, because everybody around the world can download the YouTube app and watch the Oscars, and it will be on the homepage. It will be just all over the app the day that it airs, versus, oh, what channel do I watch it if I'm, I don't know, and staying in South Africa for that week? It's going to be different than when you're in the US. So anyway, but yeah, John, speaking of the Oscars, we do have the shortlist. They announced a shortlist for the Oscars for the upcoming ceremony in 2026. And now we have got 12 categories that got shortlisted. And okay, figure drawing, that's your opinion. But Sinners and Wicked led the way. So Wicked for Good and Sinners got the most nominations. Now, again, these aren't quite the nominees, like the final nominees for the Oscars. Right. This is the short list. So basically what happens is every movie that is eligible gets narrowed into a short list, which then gets narrowed in to the list of nominees. But these short lists are what are then sent to the subcommittees of the Academy, where basically all the directors will then vote on the best director category and narrow it down from the short list to the actual nominees, which I think are meant to be like at most 5. And then and then that's pretty much the case for like other categories, like cinematographers vote on cinematography, sound design, like Hans Zimmer and John Williams, and all of those composers will vote for best score, and then that gets narrowed down. For documentary filmmakers on the Academy will vote for for that category. And then we get the actual nominees for the best picture. What happens is we get up to 10 movies in that category, but the shortlists are like, you know, the next step before we get to the actual nominees, which they will probably announce next year. That's what usually happens a couple of months before the show. John, we have the shortlist. Do you want to go through a couple of them? Maybe
through, like, kind of showing off.
We've got Superman and Avatar and you know, a couple of the Marvel movies and Sinners, in fact, in some of the VFX technical categories like VFX and such. If you go to like
guys, you can calm down. Golden is nominated for a fucking original song Oscar. The guys can calm the fuck down.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, Figure Drawing. As far as Kubrick not ever winning or Hitchcock, it's, first of all, that's a travesty, but also, like, it depends on the year that they were nominated.
Led Zeppelin
you know?
never won a Grammy, so like,
yeah,
shit
it doesn't.
happens, bro.
It's not the defining factor, right? Like, just because you didn't, like, we clearly still think they're one of the best filmmakers, some of the best filmmakers of all time. By the way, the best, if you look at the best original song, I do like that there's a lot of F1 songs in there. Superman is still in best VFX category. You can look at that. This is the short list. Avatar, Fire and Ash. The Electric State is in there somehow.
Electric State is fucking is like on the short list for best visual effects. Damn, bro.
Look, of these 10 in the list, I think when you whittle it down, Frankenstein stays. I'd imagine Superman probably won't stay,
because they usually put in like a more artsy movie where you can't tell like the actual effects, and that's the thing that wins. Because usually a comic book movie, so Superman is definitely not good. So if I were to say Avatar, Fire and Ash, or like The Lost Bus or Frankenstein would be like the.
I think F1 will be in there. Avatar will be in there. Sinners will probably stay. Wicked for Good, and then The Lost Bus. I think Tron Ares, Superman, Jurassic World. You know what? Actually, Frankenstein probably stays too. So maybe Frankenstein kicks Wicked for Good or The Lost Bus off this list.
I can't imagine Wicked for Good is getting nominated for that, because that was kind of a disappointment. So, you know.
Yeah. But anyway, so can you actually, I don't know if you can, if it's down here or if you scroll back up. Let's look at the short list for best director and maybe best film, because those are the ones that I think the big awards of the night that we want to quickly take a
I don't think those were available.
Oh, they're not? Okay.
They're not here. It's mainly like technical.
These are more the
stuff,
technical
like
categories.
Like
all right.
Casting, which is a new.
That's the new one.
This is so casting. This is the new the new category this year, and then next year we're going to be getting stunts. So casting, this is this year, and then stunts is.
Do you agree with these? I mean, I think this is a pretty good list for the first year of doing it.
Yeah, I mean,
Sentimental
I don't know
value.
the international films like Secret Agent or Sentimental Value or Surat or anything that.
Those are gonna make some noise. I think Secret Agent especially.
My friend said my friend went to go see Sentimental Value because he's like, I think this is gonna get nominated for an Oscar. So he's like, you know what, let me go see it now. And he's like, it was incredible. I think he gave it like 5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. He said it was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I also think Hamnet could be Chloe Zhao's return to prestige filmmaking. Frankenstein might actually do really well. Weapons nominated there, a good one as well. But once again, though, Sinners and Wicked for Good are leading the way so far. So we'll have to wait and see again once these end up being narrowed down into actual nominees, what stays and what goes. But you guys let us know. Are you seeing any surprises? Because this is it's not a complete process, but from here, all of the subcommittees of the Oscars will, the Academy will start voting and narrowing the field from the short list all the way down to the actual nominees, whether it's cinematography, documentary features, and like we talked about VFX, best original song, short films, all of those categories. But yeah, let us know in the comments. What are your favorite films so far to make it into the short list? Do you think anybody already got snubbed and didn't make it to the short list? Yeah, the stunt category is coming in 2027, Tony.
I thought it was 2026.
Is it? No, because 2026 would be next year. I'm talking about the year of the ceremony. So
okay, gotcha.
It will evaluate
the year for film, but yes.
Right. So they will the movies they will consider will be the movies from 2026, but it will be the 2027 at a ceremony. So, who will win best pick? I think it's too early to tell for me. Because I want to say right now it's probably between The Secret Agent and Hamnet. That's my way early prediction. But I mean, Frankenstein has really blown Hollywood away in terms of the people who are on the Academy. So after it kind of got off to a slow start, but then again, you know, things could change as the Oscar season goes on. There'll be other award shows like SAG Awards, which are now called Actors Awards. There'll be the PGA, the DGA Awards. We'll have the Golden Globes happening, and you could see, like, you know, the momentum shifts, and we did this talking about it all of this year before the Oscars. I'm sure that will happen next year as well. So Sinners, I think, potentially could win it. If they're firmly the underdogs right now, because there's always going to be a bit of a recency bias, because people vote on this, and unfortunately, you know, people are people. Like, they're like you and I. Like, we tend to be biased towards things we have seen more recently, which is why Sinners releasing early in the year might hurt his chances. But then again, you know, Oppenheimer ultimately ended up winning a lot, despite the fact that it was released in the summer months, which is still like closer to when Sinners came out than, you know, to like now, when a lot of prestige movies come out, like Hamnet and whatnot. So yeah. President Sir Christopher Nolan. Well, he's going to be voting for the best director category, that's for sure. But as far as the best picture goes, the entire Academy votes on that. So let us know what you think about it. We'll keep following the process, and we'll give you the latest updates. YouTube is going to have, you know, the home of the Oscars starting in 2029, and
if we're still here by 2029, you know, I
sure hope we are. And I hope by then we have a more brighter outlook on the world. So, but anyway, so let's keep on going here, John. I believe we have reached that part of the show where we got to get into MCU Weekly, which is now almost becoming a daily part of the show now. We might as well call it MCU Daily. But there's a lot to get into. We're going to break this up into two parts. We're going to start by talking about Spider-Man Brand New Day, and then we're going to talk about all the Avengers Doomsday leaks. So we'll break it down, what it means, what's being speculated, whether you could believe it or not. So, John, of course, while Marvel usually would have it all under control and, you know, NDA it up to the wazoo, it seems like for whatever reason, they just can't keep these leaks from leaking out, whether it's Sony's marketing for Spider-Man or Marvel
Shape
Studios
of Water
marketing
isn't a horror film; it's a fantasy
for Avengers
film,
Doomsday. Spider-Man Brand New Day, the trailer got leaked yesterday. It's been taken down in most places, which would lead you to believe it was the real deal. But based on that, there's been more rumors being put out there by some of the insiders of the internet and the interwebs. And the Cosmic Circus shared some updates today saying that, well, the DODC, the Department of Damage Control, is going to have a bigger role to play in this. And so you will see how all the pieces fit together. They even mentioning, like, Trevor Slattery is you know, his character Simon has become basically like a spy for the DODC, which is why he's running around free doing what he's doing. So whether it's going to tie into Wonder Man somehow, it's going to tie into Miss Marvel and that character's future because she's a mutant, She-Hulk, Spider-Man even, and in this case we're talking about Spider-Man. So Tremel Tillman apparently is going to be like the man leading the efforts of the Department of Damage Control as they try to round up all these mutants going into the mutant saga and then put them into this Damage Control Supermax prison where, you know, they might be experimented on without jurisdiction or oversight from outside authorities and certainly be monitored, like we saw with what was the character that Tim in She-Hulk, why am I forgetting? Abomination. Remember when he was locked up in there? Mm-hmm. So apparently, Tremel Tillman being in Spider-Man Brand New Day, I mean, his role is going to be to play like the emissary leading the DODC's efforts. John, your thoughts on this? Do you believe this rumor? Do you think the pieces fit together? And then, of course, after that, we could talk about Sadie Sink as well, but because her character apparently will play into it because she might be a mutant, like playing some sort of a mutant in the movie as well. What do you think?
I feel like this is a decent rumor, even though it is coming from Cosmic Circus, who are kind of not great. But yeah. It's this. Okay, so I will say this is more. There's more credence to this than something like, oh, Tremel Tillman's playing Tombstone or he's playing the new Kingpin, like. You know,
which we'll talk about more later. We definitely will get into that because it seems like we have some confirmations.
I will say this makes more sense because it's such like a weird character and such a weird part of the MCU that they haven't really been talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So, I can kind of see like, oh, okay, like he's just like this kind of nothing character. I wouldn't say nothing character, but he's kind of like this lesser known, like not well known character that's part of this like well known department of the government. So I can see that happening because, like, okay, like it's not like, oh, this guy is gonna be Green Goblin. It's like, all right, that makes more sense. So I appreciate that. So not saying it's true because oh he's playing a smaller role. I'm just saying I think it makes more sense than not. I think that is definitely something, and to keep an eye out for. Again, not saying it's true. I'm just saying, you know, keep an eye out for it. So, you know, um, but yeah, but it's very interesting sort of rumor. Not the only brand new day rumor, but apparently the leaked trailer may have revealed a huge change to Peter Parker's powers. So, you know, apparently they might be doing something intriguing with this. Is that due to the poor quality of the trailer, um Spider-Man appears to show a shocked Peter discovering that he has organic webbing. A shirtless Tom Holland is seemingly depicted shooting webs and is clearly shocked by what's happening to him. Some fans believe they spotted the hero emerging from a web cocoon similar to the other story arc, which is definitely fucking weird. There's also a voiceover discussing a spider's life cycle and how it can lead to a kind of rebirth. So, you know, it's definitely an intriguing way of doing things. I don't know if that part is true. Um, um, I hope it's not like the other thing where he like gives birth to himself and now he has organic webbing just because the Tobey Maguire movies had organic webbing. So like, oh, we got to make this part of the comics now. And so they made it part of the comics in the weirdest and dumbest way possible instead of like, oh, he just develops web shooters. He just develops organic webbing and like, it's like, all right. Now it's entirely possible that like maybe interactions with Toby caused organic web or something. I don't know. Is it live or die? Like, oh, if he has organic webbing, it sucks. But I don't know. I'll wait. I'll wait until the trailer is actually out to see if this is shows any credence or that what they're actually doing. So, we'll see. But I think people need to calm down a bit. And then, this is according to them. This is everything we learned about the Wall Crawlers next movie. Um, it's exactly 4 years to the day since Spider-Man No Way Home and hold on. But apparently we're going to be getting some classic comic book imagery. The teaser gives a taste with that, like he's battling Boomerang, Tarantula, and some hand ninjas. Each of these appears to be based on a specific comic book cover of panels, including a shot of the Wall Crawler recreating Amazing Fantasy number 15, where he debuted. So we're going to be getting some good old-fashioned comic book imagery, and then Peter Parker's status quo. And according to the narration, he's saying like, "Oh, Peter Parker, you don't remember me because I made myself cease to exist," kind of, sort of. And so he's like, "I'm still Spider-Man," but yeah, it's kind of what they're dealing with right now and how that will continue throughout the movie. um, so it says, so apparently this Shathra character. You're a mess, Spider-Man. Stay out of my way, or else it won't just be your friends who don't remember you. That's the ominous warning of Sadie Sink's character, giving Peter Parker, confirming she's knows who is under the mask and is aware of Doctor Strange's spell. Right now, it appears she's playing Shothra, though we're not sure why the Punisher supposedly protects her, unless that talk of her being a shapeshifter means the supernatural entity manipulates him and eventually the Hulk. We're still not buying the Jean Grey theories anyway. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this all but confirms that Jean Grey is not the character. So, then you have Spider-Man's rebirth, the whole thing. What we were talking about before with the organic webbing character widely believed to be Marvin Jones III's tombstone, talking about Spider's life cycle, saying that between each stage the Spider is vulnerable to threats. However, those who make it through are reborn, and we're sure this has multiple meanings for a brand new day. Strange's spell is expected to be undone after Avengers Secret Wars, but in this transition period, Peter is alone and more vulnerable than ever. As for his rebirth, there are hints in the teaser that Spidey is going to develop organic webbing as his powers evolve in unexpected ways. He's going to be getting help from Professor Banner. And he asks, "You're not one of my students, are you?" Bruce will have no memory who Spider-Man is beneath the mask, but could the Green Goliath remember? That would follow the comics, but if Bruce is a professor at Peter's college, the hero may have no other choice but to seek out his help. Of course, convincing him to help now that their shared history is gone will no doubt be easier said than done for the wall crawler. The web swinging we've been waiting for. When Marvel Studios rebooted the Spider-Man franchise, the decision was made to move away from what we'd seen so many times on screen before. That meant new villains, a Stark Industries powered suit, and a distinct lack of web swinging scenes in Midtown Manhattan. Spider-Man No Way Home ended with Spidey swinging through the Big Apple skyscrapers, but Crichton has taken that to the next level based on the teaser. This epic web swinging sequence looks incredibly comic accurate, and the best part is that it's a mixture of practical and big effects. I mean, we saw that big contraption or whatever the fuck that that they saw like behind the scenes. So, there's that as well. No, Paul will not be in the movie. Goddamn. Um, so we do have that. And then, of course, team up with the Punisher. Frank, what are you doing here? Spider-Man asked the Punisher in the trailer's final scene, "I'm saving your ass. Can't you see that?" Prompted Peter say, "You were just so disrespectful," which is very much in line with what we'd expect from the character. And it's a great little moment and one that suggests what we can expect from that relationship. So, in terms of the stuff that is showcased here, it definitely seems a lot better than what I was kind of worried about in terms of like Professor Banner and the status quo of Peter Parker, him going into more of the Spider-Man side. Then you have the Shathra character. So yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm like, oh my god, I'm over the moon for it in terms of all these weird changes and stuff, but I'm the vibe is okay for me. Like I'm like, okay, it seems like they're doing some intriguing things, and I'm for the most part here for it. Um Obviously if things can derail, things can get better, who knows, but I do hope that we're going to be getting something good from this. So yeah. I'm sure there are many that are excited for this, but that's not the only stuff we're going to be talking about. This I already mentioned what we're going to be talking about. That's Avengers Doomsday. Like more and more trailers stuff is getting leaked, and with all of that, returning MCU star rumored to play multiple versions of their character. So obviously we are going to be talking about that. Spoiler, our favorite character. I think yeah. I can see that. But apparently, according to rumor, My Time to Shine, who is notorious for being hit and miss, Haley Atwell is playing multiple versions of Peggy in Avengers Doomsday. Atwell debuted as Steve Rogers' love interest in First Avenger, but would later get the opportunity to voice a very different take on the hero in the What If animated series before suiting up as Captain Carter for a brief appearance in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. We already heard that Peggy is going to be appearing in Avengers Doomsday as, Steve's love interest from all that a while back. So it seems like I could see this happening. I know that there have been tons of rumors on like variants appearing in the movie, so we'll see how that goes. I could see it, but at the same time, uh, you know, I could see it. Damn, I have a bug on me. I could see that happening, but like again, I don't want to give credence to My Time to Shine or scoopers like this who are like, no. So let's just remain cautious about it all. And then, of course, in terms of Avengers, there may be more to the leaked trailer's countdown clock than meets the eye. When the first Avengers Doomsday teaser trailer leaked online earlier this week, who could see barely that it ended with a countdown. There have been conflicting reports about what it was leading to, including the anniversary of the movie's initial cast reveal and Tony Stark's birthday. With better quality leaks out there, if you look hard enough, and we now know that it's simply counting down to the release in December, obviously, because what the fuck else would it be? However, there may still be more to it than meets the eye, and it's seemingly a countdown to Doomsday in more ways than one. According to a reliable runtime and trailer leaker, Cryptic 4K Qual, well, he's not sure whether Mr. Fantastic and the gang creates watches for everyone. Avengers Doomsday heroes will wear wrist devices that track and count down to the final incursion. This lines up with the comics in Jonathan Hickman's Avengers and New Avengers runs. The Illuminati wore watches that would warn them of incursions and tell them how long they had left before the two colliding worlds were destroyed. It makes sense for this to carry over into the MCU, and it's interesting that Marvel Studios is incorporating this countdown into the marketing. While it's somewhat predictable for fans, this countdown to the final incursion and the end of the MCU as we know it is what sets the stage for Doctor Doom to rule over Battleworld. So it definitely seems like they are taking a lot from the Hickman run and all of that. So, I could definitely see that happening. I could see John now, bedbug man. Oh God. I mean, if it would rely on me, I can't like live past the bed, which would be great because I would just love to live in my bed. But
Hey, did I miss the part where is that stuff coming out of you moment? Like, because apparently Spider-Man might have natural webbing now. Anyway, that's
they're like, oh yeah, that's the thing. It's like, don't bring back the like greatness and ingenuity of the Tobey Maguire trilogy. It's like, what can we bring back from the Tobey Maguire trilogy that doesn't require actual effort or quality? The organic webbing. That'll do it. That'll make us like these movies as much as the Tobey Maguire movies. Yeah, sure. Okay. Don't like back like quality filmmakers or anything like that. Just organic webbing. Problem one. Nope. Anyway.
By the way, this countdown stuff, I think they're hinting at was it Cryptic 4K, whatever, one of the leakers who's been talking a lot about, and most of what they have said or she have said has come true. Yes, it will save Peter a lot of money. That is true, Tony. Although it depends, because then like he needs to probably have like a good diet, right? Because his body, like whatever, like in his mechanism his body uses, and proteins maybe, I don't know, but there is a Doomsday countdown. There's a countdown clock at the end of all these teasers, Sean. Apparently, it might have a tie-in to like in the comics, like Franklin Richards making a watch which has the countdown to the final incursion, which might lead us to world. Is that so? That seems to be the case. Like, do you believe this? Like, do you think that's a step too far in terms of speculation around what you're seeing at the end of these trailers?
So I mean, I could see it, but I think it just might mean like, oh, it's just counting down. That's literally it, just counting down to December. But like, I could also see like, oh, it's also plot related. I could see that, but like,
yeah,
I think it's just for a countdown for right now.
I was gonna say, okay, I think we're gonna get to this a little bit later, but okay, I'll save that. I'll save that for a little bit later. But let's talk about the actual countdown clock itself, because they're all counting down to like a particular. If you go off of like when these trailers are starting to release to when the countdown would end, it would be in IRL May 29th. That's roughly when Avengers Doomsday was originally meant to come out. Obviously, it's coming out now at the end of the year, and then I don't think they want to put a movie like of Avengers scale that close to Spider-Man Brand New Day anyway. So I don't think this means that they're all of a sudden gonna have a surprise Avengers movie for us. But do you think this means that May 29th might have like another chair watch event, like where we get to see more names now? I guess like what would be the point of that? Because now we know Steve Rogers is coming back, right? Like Chris Evans is back, so that wouldn't be a surprise. Or do you think that would be when we get like a full trailer, like a full story trailer, beyond just a teaser trailer? Like, is that significant, or are we thinking too hard, looking too hard into this? I don't know. Like, is there anything to that date? Does that have significance, or is it more about the movie itself and the final incursion?
I think it's just build up to the movie. I think that's it. I love the first guy. This shit better be the greatest movie of all time if they're marketing it this hard. It won't be, but you know.
I still, dude, I can't believe that these trailers are being so recklessly leaked. It's it's just at this point I'm like, just fucking give up. Like just you know, like just put it all on the internet already. But like, I don't know. The fact that these are getting leaked as easily as they are, either Marvel really effed up or this is on purpose. But they do keep, you know, taking them down. So maybe it is on purpose, but they're like, you know, we're gonna pretend that it's not. Like that's the organic nature of the marketing, the viral marketing campaign. But let's talk about the more of what's been revealed, because we've got even more rumors and reports. Apparently, we now know that trailers 3 and 4, because if you remember, the first one is going to be Steve Rogers. That's going to be playing in front of Avatar this week. And the next week would be Thor, where he's praying to his dead father, Odin. But then apparently the third one is going to feature Loki. And then the fourth teaser, which, by the way, none of this has officially been announced by Marvel saying that, you know, we're going to get 4 different ones. But at this point, the Hollywood Reporter talked about it, and we have seen some of the footage and the audio leaks. So the fourth one is going to be focusing on Doctor Doom. And then now there's rumors out there, if you look at, I mean, here we can go through these, talking about that maybe there will be a fifth one. And that fifth one will be a proper teaser trailer that's more than just these looks at specific characters. What do you think, John? And then, yeah, maybe we can kind of go through some of these quotes, because we also have a rumor talking about we might get to see more than just the babies that Steve Rogers and Peggy Carter have spawned. We will get to see them all grown up as well. In fact, you know what? As we dive into more of these spoilery territory, I'm just going to put this up on screen. We have got a spoiler alert, so I'm just throwing this up here. So that way you guys know we're talking spoilery stuff. But John, what do you think about the idea that we'll get a fifth trailer that will be an official teaser trailer, and then, you know, Doctor Doom is the fourth one, and of course Loki would be the third one, which would imply Loki has a pretty big role to play in all of this.
Right. I don't know. I mean, he got his own show, so I could see the like, oh, Loki is getting really built up here. And, you know, we do have this in regards to what we're going to see in the film, like allegedly. But this is Lakers spammer. Spam might be the proper way to go. But My Time to Shine, hello, has added a bit more credibility to the rumor. Someone I'm overseas really likes Next Avengers Heroes of Tomorrow, which was an animated film that featured the like children of the main heroes after that. like the world got nuked or something. So there was that, and so we also have so as you said, it's going to focus on Loki, and then number 4 will spotlight Doctor Doom. And then there might be now a fifth trailer that will be that full teaser trailer that was rumored to be the fourth trailer, but now it seems like we're going to be getting an additional Loki trailer in between Doctor Doom and Thor. So, yeah. Okay. So
but what do you think about the kids? Let's talk about for a moment the kids situation, like Steve Rogers, because this is still all happening in the 40s, right? Like when these kids are born. So if they're 10, 15 years old, like, does that mean we're talking about the 60s? Does that mean that maybe there is a wild theory out there, not from even a scooper, but this is just fans speculating, that maybe the new MCU origin of Professor X is going to be Charles Xavier was Steve Rogers and Peggy Carter's son. And in the comics, he gets this British accent from the mother, and Peggy Carter has a British accent because she's
honestly.
I'm just saying.
Sounds so fucking stupid. I could see them going with that. Like, legitimately, I can see them going with that because that sounds like the dumbest idea possible. That is like Tom King levels of writing, and I could see them actually doing that with how stupid that is. Not gonna lie.
It's definitely a compelling theory to be sure. By the way, hello Fiona. Moderator Fiona's here. We have Quick Hits coming up. I don't know if you have any heated rivalry talk, but you're welcome to dive into it because that is a very steamy show. But dude, can you imagine Professor X is literally the son of Steve Rogers? I don't know how that would work and how it's the same, but I guess if you're doing a full timeline reset, that would be wild. Because then that would be one way to kind of make the time work, right? Because then Professor X would be from the 60s, like in terms of like maybe he was born in the 40s, and so like then the X-Men can still exist in the past. And Magneto can still have an origin in the concentration camps in World War II, and they would still be. I'm just saying, like then they're older by the time we get to the new present day MC. Do you think that makes any sense? Like, or are they gonna go with more of like in the comics, like Nomad, and there's Captain America daughter variant who's sort of like. His daughter becomes another version of Captain America. Like what's more likely? Because can you imagine like that I'm just saying again, very speculative. There's no evidence supporting this. The idea that when like for example at the end of The Dark Knight Rises, they're like, Robin, that's a beautiful name. You should use that more. And he's like, yes, that's a beautiful middle name. And they're like, oh my God, Joseph Gordon-Levitt is gonna be Robin. And then. Obviously, like when Christopher Nolan kind of was like, it's just a nod to the fans. It's not really actually Robin. It's more idea of Batman. Blah blah blah. But in this case, you get that moment of, and then you get the or like, or maybe whatever if they decide to go with the animated music from the X-Men '97 show or the X-Men animated series, and you get we get the reveal at the end of Doomsday, like Charles. I'm just putting it out there. I am just putting it out there, John. What do you think?
I think that's really dumb, but I could see them going with that.
I'm just making my pitch here. I'm not the only person who suggested this on the internet. It's just, yeah. All right, well, let's keep on rolling because we got more to talk about. Steve's kids apparently will be in the movie. And what was going to be Luke Cage's house, which, well, that was the code name used for the production to not give away that it's Steve and Peggy's house, which a lot of people speculated it would be anyway. So not a great job, Marvel. Not a good plan, as Tony would say. But Avengers Doomsday teaser leaks online in HD. And of course, we talked about the rumor of the 5th trailer. You know what, Tony? That's a great idea too. I don't think they're gonna do that, like going from animation to live action that way. But John, if you can scroll down here, we don't need to. Obviously, we're not gonna play the actual trailer unless the video's already been taken down. But I think they had a video in this article.
Yeah.
Ah, damn it! It was there this morning. There were 2 versions. Is there not? Are they both gone? If you can scroll down. Oh, okay. Can you not play the whole thing? But can you Okay. While you do that, I just want you to pause on the countdown, but pause on the frame between the date, December 2026, and the actual countdown, because there's like a transition, and it changes to like some other text for a few frames. And if you can find that moment. Damn it! Oh, they took it down. Okay. I don't know if there's a photo of that somewhere.
Oh, but, wow. Like, once we started playing it, they're like, nope, that's not happening. Whoopsie daisies.
But if you guys have seen this teaser trailer, there is like the December 2026 at the end of the Captain America teaser, and then the text changes like for a moment to like some kind of like cryptic code for a second, almost like from the Matrix movies, and then goes to the actual countdown. I'm wondering, again, maybe reading too deep into this, but is there a Easter egg there hidden away somewhere? Because that would be interesting if they've done that. it looks like it's numbers and maybe some symbols, maybe a alien language of some kind from maybe Doom's world. I don't know, but that was interesting. I just wanted to kind of like take a peek at that, but I guess it's slowly disappearing off the interwebs, so we might have to just leave it there. But you guys let us know what you think about all these leaks. Of course, spoiler warning, that's the warning is up here. So we've got all these leaks for Avengers Doomsday. We're gonna get 4 teaser trailers focusing on Captain America, which is this week, Thor next week, Loki the week after, and the one focusing on Doctor Doom 4 weeks, well, the 4th week of Avatar's release, and then potentially an actual teaser trailer. And then the countdown at the end of these trailers. What will be interesting is if the countdown at the end of the Thor trailer next week is like starting from a lower number than the one from the Steve Rogers one, because then that would indicate they're all counting down to the May 29th date in real life. Whereas if it's the same countdown, it starts with the same number, then maybe it is more so that it's like reflective of the movie itself, where you'll eventually have the final incursion, and then all the timelines will collide and create War World, where Emperor Doom will reign supreme.
Battle
and
World. War
Battle
World is
World.
DC.
I always confuse them. Whatever, it's the same concept, or similar concept. But Battle World will be created, and the Avengers will have to fight their way to save or resurrect, the one timeline, the sacred timeline. So, anyway, let us know in the comments what you think about all that. Yeah, they must have found out my theory, Tony, and now there's a cover up. Well, Marvel knows that I'm too good at this stuff, so I take full credit for that. You know what? I wish WWE was putting a countdown up for Chris Jericho to return. Maybe that will count down to the Hall of Fame ceremony. So John pulled the actually, yeah. Well, it's not John's fault. It's Marvel's going out and sweeping all this under the rug, because I think they did this on purpose. Like, they can't let all this stuff leak and then it's just Marvel always has been buttoned up about these leaks over the years with the MCU. I can't imagine this was not entirely like an accident, that all of these are leaking before the trailers actually go up online, because it's just taking up all this headspace on all the news sites. So anyway, let's keep on rolling. We are already pretty deep into the show here. So John, I'm gonna make this relatively quick, because I know that you're not the biggest fan of this topic as a whole, but we're gonna get rid of that spoiler warning first, because this is news at this point. You know what, CC Black, Doomsday will be a 2-part movie. That is an idea. I don't know if that is gonna be what they do, but people have suggested that. Tony's taking a bathroom break. Oh, okay, just kidding. All right, okay. Well, basically what happened, we've been covering this story. You guys can see on the screen now. The decision was coming down. Yesterday, there were reports out there that they were going to be announcing a decision, the Warner Brothers Discovery Board, to recommend that the shareholders reject Paramount's offer, the hostile takeover offer, because Paramount went over the board's heads, literally, directly to shareholders, saying, our offer is better than the one Netflix signed with you guys. Consider it and go with ours, and if you do, then we get into this. So we will take over Warner Brothers Discovery, and we will take the whole company, not just the streaming and studios. Well, the board
want to control the news.
Yeah. Well, whatever the reasoning might be, but that's what Paramount is offering. So the Warner Brothers Discovery Board had said they would give themselves until this Friday to make a decision. Well, they were a little early on that, and they were reporting yesterday saying that the decision would be coming as early as Wednesday, and well, that's ultimately what had ended up happening. So here we are. By the way, the Netflix offer does include a big bridge loan, so it's not entirely cash. Paramount is an all cash offer, but it's also loans, and we'll go through the other details. But the Warner Brothers Discovery Board said we're going to stick with the the Netflix offer as the better one, recommending the shareholders to, reject the Paramount hostile takeover bid. Now, as far as the reactions from all of this, Sean, let's kind of go to the next article here. Like I mentioned last night, the reports were that this was going to be happening sooner than Friday, and that's exactly what happened. So as we go on here, the bid itself from Paramount, according to Warner Brothers Discovery, has just been misleading the shareholders over at Warner Brothers, because Paramount keeps saying that their all cash offer is backed up by the Ellison family, which is true, but is backed up by the Ellison Trust, which the value of that fluctuates depending on what mostly Oracle, the company that Larry Ellison co-founded and has a lot of stock in, is worth. That's why the actual how much is the actual what would you call it, the worth of like how rich Larry Ellison is, like that changes depending on how valuable the stock for Oracle is. And basically all of that value is in the trust, the Ellison family trust, and that's backing up the bid from Paramount. So anyway, like all of that basically one of this Discovery board are saying like, look, the offer from Paramount is inferior in our opinion. We're going to stick with that, and therefore we're going to stick with the Netflix deal that we signed. Now, John, if you go to the next article, Paramount's response today was, in the immediate aftermath, that they're going to stick with their offer. They think their offer is superior, and they have until January 8th for the shareholders at Warner Brothers to tender their shares to Paramount instead of Netflix, and essentially give Paramount the ability to replace the Warner Brothers board, and then switch the deal to the Paramount deal. So they still have a few weeks to go in that, and Paramount the anticipation is
this whole thing
Go
is
ahead.
just so funny to me, because it's just like I don't know if I said this before on the show, but I was saying this. It's just like, I love how this whole thing was like WB was riding high. They may breaking records. All Pam Abdi and Michael DeLuca and James Gunn and Peter Safran doing all their good work, all their good shit. Even though Warner Brothers still wasn't in the best place ever, it was still like on the up and up. So like after not even the ink is dry from the fucking Paramount deal. Like fucking
The
David
Discovery
Ellison
deal.
was like, David, hey, Zaslav.
yeah.
Hey, Zaslav. Hey, I want to buy Warner Brothers. Hey, I want to buy Warner Brothers. Hey, I'm going to buy the whole thing. Even after you, I don't want you to split. I don't want you to split. I want to buy it. He's like, I'm not buying. I'm not selling. Okay, leave me alone. Leave me the fuck alone. I don't want to sell.
We're splitting the company in half.
Fine,
We're not
sell.
selling.
Jesus Christ. Fine.
Yeah.
I will sell. Okay. Fucking offer me some bids. We're gonna offer you all the bids. We're gonna offer you. I don't know why I sound like Mark Wahlberg right now.
6 bids in total.
Like, we're gonna offer you half a dozen bids. Here you go. This is all great. Can we buy? And he's like, I'm gonna go to Netflix right now. Fuck you. And then just like makes the deal with Netflix. And then David Ellison is just having the rich man's tantrum of like, I can't get what I want. I'm supposed to be a billionaire. I need to get what I want. And he's like, just like losing his collective shit. He was the one that fucking started
the bidding war.
And then Zaslav's like, fuck you, I'm going to Netflix. They offered a better offer, and like, get the hell out of my face.
Yeah, you know what? I gotta imagine though, Paramount probably expected this, because their bid that they went to the shareholders with, the hostile takeover bid, is literally the same bid that was their last bid that Warner Brothers rejected before they signed with Netflix. So, like, if they already rejected it once, what were the chances they're going to not reject it a second time? Because nothing had really changed, other than the fact that earlier this week, Jared Kushner's investment, it was a small chunk. It wasn't even $1 billion like Tencent had, which they pulled out earlier. Now Jared Kushner's Affinity Partners pulled out. So what remains are the Ellison family backing it up, Redbird Capital, Apollo. There's a couple of other equity funds, and then the Qatari, Abu Dhabi, and Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund. So all of that being said, John, apparently in the lead up to all this, like you were saying just now, if you go to the next article, David Ellison had offered David Zaslav a role in the future of a potential combined Warner Brothers Paramount, where they would literally be paying several $100 million to David Zaslav in his pay package as a co-CEO, which David Zaslav, I don't know how much you want to believe this, but to his credit, I guess he was saying, his response was to discuss all of this is inappropriate at the time when the deal hadn't even been signed. And remember, if you remember, Paramount, like David Ellison, his team from Paramount, the week before Netflix is, officially signed a deal with Warner Brothers, sent out these letters. There were 2 or 3 letters from the lawyers at Paramount, which was mostly on behalf of David Ellison and his direct team. So it wasn't like a reflection of the entire deal. In fact, a lot of people in the hallways at Paramount apparently were really pissed that it made them look like a really the bad guys in all of this. And there's a lot of good people who work at Paramount, and that this was not a very professional thing to do. But those letters, if you remember, and if you go to the next article that talks about this, leading up to the Netflix deal to buy Warner Brothers, Paramount was publicly crying that this is an unfair process. This isn't fair. I want my billion-dollar company. And one of the things that this said was that, look, one of the big reasons why they're choosing Netflix over us is because there's a lot of people on the board, and potentially, they implied that David Zaslav and some of the other executives are worried about their future jobs in the new Netflix, owned Warner Brothers. Meanwhile, before any of the bids had been chosen, David Ellison had offered David Zaslav hundreds of millions of dollars in a future role themselves. That's a little hypocritical. And David Zaslav, to his credit, was like, this is inappropriate. We shouldn't be having these conversations right now because we haven't picked one. So you're trying to bribe me, essentially. And so Warner Brothers, called out in their statement today the pressure tactic that Paramount tried to put out with the hardball they were playing with those legal letters a couple of weeks ago. And well, I guess that's another one in favor of Warner Brothers. And like you said, David Ellison just completely misreading the situation, apparently. Not to mention, if you go to the next article, David Zaslav actually sent a memo to Warner Brothers employees today saying that the process to combine Netflix with Warner Brothers, that a regulatory process is now begun. Like, he told his staff today that the Warner Brothers Discovery is now starting to take steps to, it's not about the money, it's about sending a message. Yeah, so thank you for the Joker reference. But it looks like Netflix and Warner Brothers are moving forward now, like in a real way. They're starting to go through the regulatory process. I mean, probably really early days still. But this is Warner Brothers Discovery saying, thank you, but no thank you, Paramount. We're just going to keep on keeping on with what we were going to do in the first place. Now, of course, Paramount could still, if enough shareholders tender their shares to Paramount, and the majority of them, and the Paramount could, still force the issue. But other than that, the only thing they can really do is up their bid, because they didn't increase their bid. Like, I remember there were reports that David Zaslav would consider Paramount's bid if they increased it, and basically were paying to cover the termination fee, like the $5.8 billion termination fee they would have to pay, or actually no, $2.8 billion termination fee they would have to pay Netflix, and then another $1.5 billion to help finance the enter into the deal with Paramount. Like, Paramount just didn't pay up, I guess, but now I guess their only option would be to potentially raise their offer, and then Netflix might do the same. But with that in mind, let's go on to the next article, because if the Netflix deal continues the way it is with Warner Brothers and they end up owning them, John, the biggest concern has been, well, are they really serious about theatrically releasing Warner Brothers Studios pictures? Mm-hmm. So Ted Sarandos showed up at this event in France for Canal Plus, which is, I'm just going to say Canal Plus because I can't say it in actual French because I don't actually know how it's pronounced. But if you switch over to that article, he was there at this event talking about, I think you're in the wrong. There we go.
I hate this. What it does the drop down menu.
Yeah.
And then I click on the wrong thing. Anyway.
It's all good. But Ted Sarandos was there. It was a surprise appearance. It wasn't planned. But Canal Plus is like the big, local provider, like in terms of pay television. Like, if you're paying for a streaming service in France, Canal Plus is a big player. Netflix has entered that market in recent years, and they of course are, immediately
I vaguely remember us talking about that.
Yeah, and if you remember, we talked about how in France there's like a limit. There's a specific law saying that if there's a movie that comes out in theaters, then it cannot be on a streaming service for at least a minimum of 15 months after its release, which is something very specific to France. I think there are a couple other countries have been thinking about doing something similar. So that, so Ted Sarandos was there, and basically he was trying to ease the concerns of a lot of French filmmakers and their unions over there, which have been talking about, literally saying like, look, we need to really look at this very closely because Netflix doesn't do theatrical movies. Well, Ted Sarandos keeps on saying, indeed, we intend to support theatrical, that we will be in that business. And if you go to the next article now, the last article I'll discuss in the story today, and we can go into specific quotes, because Ted Sarandos vowed at this event that they will continue releasing Warner Brothers movies in theaters with the traditional windows. So if you scroll down in this article, I can read what he said. But to kind of, and yeah, so zoom in a little bit here. He said, our intentions when we buy Warner Brothers will be to continue to release Warner Brothers studio movies in theaters with the traditional windows, aka that, you know, what's in place right now. Maybe even, I don't know, would be like, it would be completely a U-turn if there was one, if they decided to like work with
maybe he heard the
AMC
backlash, maybe
extend the windows.
Maybe Sir President Christopher Nolan really just like went up to him, pulled a I'm Batman, and just fucking like absolutely.
I don't know if that happened per se, but I will say this though, like it's still very surprising that Ted Sarandos is saying, look, these studio movies will remain in theaters with the traditional windows. So like 30 days, 35 days or longer, depending on the movie. And then he went on to say, we never got into this theatrical business before because we never owned a theatrical distribution mechanism. Basically, he was saying, we never had the infrastructure that Warner Brothers has. And you know what? He's got a point, because even Apple works with other studios to release their movies in theaters. They don't have their own distribution arm. And even for Apple, it's like, you know, they can just throw billions of dollars at the problem. Even they decided it's probably easier, cheaper for them to do it this way. Amazon bought MGM in part because MGM releases movies in theaters and has the theatrical marketing group. They've got, you know, the distribution arm that's got deals with theaters. And MGM, you know, Studios was already doing a little bit of that, but now with Amazon Studios were doing all of that. Now with Amazon MGM Studios, they've got even more experience. And of course, they got all the IP that MGM had. But with Warner Brothers, you're looking at 100-year-old plus studio that they have an IP library that goes back decades. He also mentioned this, Ted Sarandos, because he said, look, we have really quickly, you know, tried to add to our library, but the oldest stuff we have is still 10, 12 years old, like Stranger Things and stuff. Like, it's not that old. Whereas you look at Warner Brothers, you've got shit that's been around for decades. You know, we talked about Casablanca, we've talked about all these other classics. If you go back and watch our Tier List Tuesday, all the IP, the iconic IP Warner Brothers owns, that goes into a level of prestige that Netflix just can't replicate. And it's not even a matter of like, you know, they can do it in 30, like it's just they can't grow that organically, you know, today. So in this case, Ted Sarandos is saying it makes sense for us to literally buy versus build in this situation, because we won't be able to have our own Harry Potter and grow it organically, you know, unless we start now, and then 15 years from now it might be that. But with that, all that said, John, do you really believe it? Because Ted Sarandos seems to be making points that feel logical, that now that they have all of these, you know, elements. He actually went on to also talk about the TV side of things, saying that, you know, he looked at Warner Brothers television studios. They make content not just for obviously Warner Brothers, you know, outlets like HBO and stuff, but they also make it for Apple, like Ted Lasso and other streamers and networks like, you know, Abbott Elementary and stuff. And that they would want to keep that up as well, because while they, you know, those studios will continue to make stuff for Netflix like they do even today, they will then keep on making stuff else for other, you know, licensing opportunities like what they do right now. So it seems to make sense the way he's talking about it, that whether it's on the TV side of things, whether it's, you know, what HBO does, but especially what Warner Brothers, you know, studios do, whether that is DC Studios or New Line Cinema or Warner Brothers Pictures. They do things that Netflix just doesn't do, and they do things that have these people and systems and deals in place and experience doing a theatrical distribution that Netflix doesn't have. So Netflix wouldn't be killing those things. They would just be propping them up and saying, now we're in that business as well. They're essentially diversifying themselves away from just being purely a streaming company. Do you think that makes business sense for Netflix, in the sense, like in the idea that, and then also like this would imply they'll be letting go of far fewer people, because a lot of those people at Warner Brothers will be doing things that Netflix doesn't currently do. So fewer job losses potentially. Like, do you really believe what Ted Sarandos is selling here? His vision for Warner Brothers under Netflix?
I want to, because if that's the case, then maybe it's not as DOA for cinemas as we were led to believe. So I'm not gonna say like woohoo, yeah, no, nothing like that. I'm just gonna say, okay, let's see, and that's all I'll say about that. Let's see.
Yeah.
It's I mean, because here's the thing. Ted Sarandos also was making fun of the whole fucking like WBD getting sold off and shit like that. He's like, yeah, this is fucking stupid. And here he is buying the fucking company. So, rich douchebags lie all the time. He could be lying out of his ass right now. He's probably just saying all the right things, doing all the right stuff, and then once push comes to shove, he'll fuck everyone over just like every other rich billionaire out there. So
well, you gotta it's not gonna be just him alone, right? Like, these decisions don't get made in a bubble. It will affect the entirety of the company, and there would be a lot of backlash at that point too. So I mean, by the way, Eric was talking about how there might be other bidders for the Warner Brothers, like the Discovery Global part of the company, once it spins off next year. Yeah, maybe Starz, which spun off from Lionsgate this year, might want that. Maybe Versant wants it. There's certainly, with CNN and a bunch of other stuff like Bleacher Report and whatnot, and HGTV and Food Network, that's valuable. But do you guys believe it? Do you think that, according to the Netflix and what Ted Sarandos is saying, Warner Brothers will continue to have a traditional theatrical releases and the theatrical windows, and they're not going to shorten those or just put them straight on streaming? Is he going to stick to his word? Because he was talking about this in France, like with Canal Plus, which is one of their big content partners, and you could see how things get complicated, like when you're not just talking about the American audience, like there's rules and regulations everywhere else, and they're not all the same. So Netflix probably knows, walking into the situation, it's not as simple as buy it and kill it, and just merge it into Netflix, everything Warner Brothers. So maybe that was part of their decision making, right? Like they must have thought about all of that going into this. So we'll see. It's like you said, John, it could still over time, and put us in the same situation where we ultimately end up with fewer movies in theaters and for less amount of time. But if you go off of what Ted Sarandos is saying, then well, Warner Brothers Studios will continue to put movies out in movie theaters for the same amount of time, the traditional theatrical release windows that they are now. Let us know what you think about that in the comments, and we'll keep on following this story and give you guys the latest updates as they develop. Maybe the next thing could be that Paramount might increase their offer, and maybe Netflix will do the same. So we'll follow up when that happens, if or when that happens. Until then, John, we gotta get into the quick hits. We got some fun ones today. Oh, that was the wrong music. My bad. Let's get into the quick hits.
So, obviously, the first thing, a new trailer for another biopic has dropped. And it's for the Jimmy Stewart biopic. It's surrounding the filming of It's a Wonderful Life, as well as talking about Jimmy Stewart's PTSD from the war and how, he kind of deals with that, and kind of going back and forth between those two major things. And it has KJ Apa, who is known for usually a lot smaller roles, known for Riverdale, silly stuff like that, actually kind of doing a good Jimmy Stewart impression, not something that's a caricature, just sounds like the guy, and he kind of looks like him a little bit. They actually really tried to make this work, and it does look a bit cheap in areas. It looks like definitely an indie movie, very smaller, cheaper indie movie. But honestly, I'm intrigued with this, unless the movie gets horrifically awful reviews. I'm kind of curious about it.
I love this trailer. Of course, Jimmy Stewart is one of the greatest, one of the most successful actors of all time, and you see here the internal conflict that he had.
Yes.
He wanted to be somebody who could take part as a soldier in World War II, but even the U.S. Army was we can't, you're Jimmy Stewart. America can't lose Jimmy Stewart, so we can't send you on the front lines. But Jimmy Stewart ultimately did it. He pushed for it, and he ultimately ended up doing it.
He lost all of his hair in World War II due to the stress. So, his life it definitely is marketable as its own movie.
Mhm.
So I think this is definitely, it's perfect timing. It's a Wonderful Life, Christmas movie,
Yeah.
one of his most famous roles. It makes sense that they released the trailer around this time, even though it's not going to be coming out for like a whole year almost. It's coming out November of next year. So, yeah, it's definitely taking advantage of the time of like It's a Wonderful Life and all that.
Yeah.
So I hope this is as I think you said this before, prior to when we started. I hope it's a career defining role for him, because KJ Apa was like this name that I'm like, oh, it's the fucking dweeb Archie from Riverdale. Are you kidding me? Guy who's like, sexy shirtless dude. Oh, he's gonna be Jimmy Stewart. Get the fuck out of here. But it seems like he's actually putting a little something into this, and I'm intrigued with it. Now, I'm not gonna say it's gonna be like the greatest movie ever, but it might be good for him in terms of a stepping stone. So that's
no, absolutely. It comes out next November, so it's still a ways away, literally almost a year away. Jason Alexander is playing Louis B. Mayer, of course, of the Louis B. Mayer pictures, which is the Mayer and Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer MGM. Back in the day, Jason Alexander, of course, from Seinfeld. You have Neil McDonough in here. Christopher McDonald is in this.
Honestly,
the cast is
there's
stacked,
still time left.
So
we'll see.
And between this and the upcoming Fred Astaire biopic that Tom Holland will be starring in, I'm excited to see some tributes back to some of the golden age heroes of Hollywood. So this looks nice. This looks fun, and it looks genuinely a good movie. So we'll see how it turns out. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited for this.
Me too.
I hope it's good. But FX's Elizabeth Olsen stars Seven Sisters ordered to series at Hulu. Drama also stars Kristen Milioti and J. Smith Cameron in the show from executive producers Will Arbery, Garrett Bash, and Sean Durkin, making a reunion between Olsen and her Martha Marcy May Marlene director, who directed the pilot. That was the thing that I wouldn't say launched her career, but that was the thing that really showed that, this is that older Olsen sister. Let's see how she does. And then she became as big as she was. So
no, she's one of the best actors right now in Hollywood, and she wanted to branch out beyond Marvel movies, and she's doing exactly that. She may still be in the Avengers movies, but clearly she's got some good stuff going on outside of that, and this is one of those projects. And this has been in the works for a while, so I'm excited that this is going to be an actual show now. So let's see what it turns into. Kristen Milioti and Elizabeth Olsen. Count me in. I'll watch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's fucking go. But yeah. No, God, no. Game of Thrones actor Kit Harington says he spent 10 years playing Jon Snow and doesn't want to go anywhere near it because there was like a lot of like,
thanks,
oh, hey, he's going to come back. He's going to come back. He's going to come back. And it doesn't look like
no, thank
Kit
you.
Harington wants to come back.
I look, I'm not surprised. That Jon Snow sequel series is, I don't know if that's completely dead, if this means that's never happening. I'm going to be honest with you, though. He will change his tune if they come up with something and they give him a big enough paycheck.
Dan, what do you always say? What do you always say? In terms of an actor coming back to a role that they might not want to come back to. What do you always say?
Everybody's got a price.
Everybody's got a price, and money talks.
Money talks. Hello, Nelson, by the way. Yeah, Kit... He's saying it now, like that's what Robert Downey Jr. said for years, and here we are, Doctor Doom. So, and Steve Rogers, no less. Chris Evans, the dude was trying to convince us he was not in the movie. Hey, Movie Spud is here too. Hello. Let's keep on going here. More quick is to come.
Of course. Next up, we have Alan Ritchson. He joined. Joe Cole joins Alan Ritchson in Mike Thornton Navy SEAL movie at Amazon MGM. Alan Ritchson is just going to be in the most bargain bin crap until he dies. He's like, I can't be Batman. Oh, well, I guess I'm just going to keep starring in Amazon MGM schlock.
I will say this, though. Like, if you can kind of carve out a niche for yourself, like, what we talk about with Jason Statham, like you said, he's not exactly a great actor, so doing action seems to work for him best, and Amazon MGM giving him more opportunities. I don't know how good that movie with Kevin James is. The trailers didn't look very good, but between Reacher and now this, he's starting to maybe carve out a niche for himself. So there we go. I can't do the Ted DiBiase laugh. I will lose my voice. I wish I could. Maybe I can find the sound effect though, Tony. But let's keep on rolling.
Let's keep on rolling. Hamnet star Jacoby Jupe joins Scarlett Johansson in new Exorcist horror movie for Blumhouse. So Mike Flanagan, who is writing and directing it, who I think is going to be going to it after he's done with the Carrie miniseries he's doing for Amazon. He is going to be doing the next Exorcist movie after
he wrote
the
Clayface.
David Gordon Green trilogy fucking shit the bed. So I mean, I'm excited for this. I've heard Hamnet is a great movie. It's just not
gonna be a front runner.
I don't
in the Oscars.
Really care about it, but I'm sure this kid is a really good actor if he's just starring in like Oscar like talk movies like Hamnet. And then Scarlett Johansson, she's an actress, so she's
collecting all the franchises. She's a great actress.
She's pretty, so it's
she's more than just pretty. She's a great actress, like in terms of just the role.
She's say great. She's good. She's good,
dude. I think fine. That's a matter of opinion, I guess. But also, here's what I will say: like, think about Jacoby Jupe, like his young career. This young man has just gone from being directed by Oscar-winning Chloe Zhao in Hamnet to now working with Mike Flanagan. That's like an incredible two back-to-back movies in a row to have on his resume for a child actor. So hopefully this just means more good stuff. This it looks like they're pretty serious about this at Blumhouse Universal, the new Exorcist reboot. So yeah, let's keep on rolling. By the way, she still is involved on the back end with Marvel. She's just not going to be back as Black Widow anytime soon. So.
But apparently the Rolling Stones have called off their 2026 tour. Very interesting.
Yeah, we talked about like when they announced this. Apparently they've called it off. There were complications with, I don't know if it was just the health issues thing that was going on, but anyway, if you were looking forward to the Rolling Stones in 2026, unfortunately they will not be on tour. So sorry. Anyway, let's keep on rolling. We got more quick hits. What's next?
Next up is The Housemaid. Rotten Tomatoes score revealed as first reviews promise glorious, hilarious, nail-biting fun. But with 52 reviews, it is now at a 79%, which, by the way, higher than Fire and Ash.
Higher.
Okay, so,
But I remember seeing that this is expected to make like 20 million at most at the box office, so not quite Avatar level money, but it will be good counter programming. So
I'm gonna say this. I will say this. I think this is gonna be the movie that gets me to watch a Paul Feig movie again, because I have not seen a single one of his movies since the god awful Ghostbusters remake.
Well, so isn't he also directing the Call of Duty movie for Paramount?
No, that's Peter Berg. Peter Berg is directing that.
So never mind. Okay.
Peter Berg is directing that, and then Taylor Sheridan is apparently writing it something like that.
He is writing it, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. This looked cool, Sydney Sweeney, Amanda Seyfried, and the trailers look like interesting stuff. Let's just leave it there. But let's keep on going. Nail-biting, glorious, hilarious, nail-biting fun. It looks like the movie didn't take itself too seriously, so... Yeah, I think a lot of people probably forgot it was coming out, but hey, it's going to be coming out against Avatar.
Speaking
so
of things that people keep forgetting is coming out, but apparently, Ebenezer, Christmas Carol, starring Johnny Depp. Apparently, Ron Weasley, Ray Palpatine, Flint, and Charlie Murphy are among those who are rounding out the cast for the Johnny Depp starring Christmas Carol, one of two, the other being directed by Robert Eggers. That's probably going to star Willem Dafoe as Scrooge. So I will say I am, like, jokes aside, I am pretty, I'm pretty excited for this. This sounds like an intriguing movie. But I don't think...
The cast for this is stacked, because this movie already, not only is this going to be probably the biggest movie in the comeback of Johnny Depp, it's already got Ian McKellen in it, Andrea Riseborough, and Tremel Tillman. And now you add Rupert Grint and Daisy Ridley on top of that, as well as, all the other actors you got here in this article. Like, it's going to have an amazing cast. So I can't imagine. Hopefully this is a good movie, because it's definitely got one of the most prolific casts of any movie coming out in the next few years. Sam Claflin as well, and Charlie Murphy. So yeah, we'll see how this will be a Paramount project, I think, right? Johnny Depp,
I believe
leading
so.
the way. Yeah. So there we go. We'll see how well this turns out.
But try not to jizz your pants. But we're talking about the Odyssey right now. Matt Damon, Anne Hathaway, Tom Holland are a family divided in new The Odyssey images. So this is an exclusive. But we have gotten some images in regards to this. We got your boy Spooderman over here with Catwoman.
Anne Hathaway playing Penelope. Yeah.
We got Batman himself
playing what's his name? Antonolus. What is Antinous?
Antinous, I think.
Antinous, maybe. You got a photo of behind the scenes. Sir President Christopher Nolan.
I will say that. Okay, I'm not saying they should like do it. I'm just saying like just looking at this picture right here. Just imagine if it was made today. Revenge of the Sith, Robert Pattinson as Anakin Skywalker. But I'm not saying like obviously do it, but like that vibe is what I'm getting.
No, just
Anakin Skywalker at the brink of evil vibes from Robert Pattinson right here.
I mean, this is an epic cast. Also, John Bernthal's in this.
Punisher,
great.
Just all the comic book people, except Matt Damon because he doesn't fuck with that. But you know.
Well, Matt Damon also is in one of the photos. These are all the Entertainment Weekly exclusives.
There he is with the IMAX camera. There he is, Sir President Christopher Nolan.
Yep. By the way, I'm surprised
that we haven't seen this one from a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So
I am surprised that we haven't seen this trailer leak yet because we know they're going to be playing an Odyssey trailer before Avengers Endgame.
You know why?
Or Doomsday. Avatar.
You don't fuck with Christopher Nolan. That's why. That's why. Because I'm pretty sure that this man sat with each person on the crew and just stuck a gun to their head, just saying, if you fucking leak this trailer, I will end your entire fucking bloodline. So listen to me, you fucking pricks. That's what happened. That's my headcanon.
And those are the exact words he used, I'm sure, as well. So anyway.
But imagine it with like a British accent. But I'm not doing a British accent because I'm not good at British accents. But you know.
You'd probably use words like twat instead of pricks. But anyway, let's keep on rolling.
You fucking twat. Anyway. That's not how Nolan talks.
No,
but, you know,
that's not how he talks. Not at all. That's only our impression of
But anyway, that's my headcanon because I guess you could say Christopher Nolan runs a tight ship.
Hey. All right. And on that note,
with that terrible note, we move on to M3gan. The M3gan cinematic universe in doubt as spin-off Soulmate is pulled from the release calendar, which makes sense. Because I've been my friend was really excited for this. He's a big M3gan fan, and
M3.
I refuse to call it Megan. It's M3gan. But he was super excited for this. But the thing is, as it did have a cast, and I think it maybe had a poster. But the thing is, we literally heard nothing about this movie for months. It was supposed to come out next month, and we heard nothing.
Yeah.
So why would they release it? That makes no sense.
After the second movie, I'm like, they're probably reconsidering the entirety of their plans.
I
for this
heard
universe.
that there were test screenings and that the test screenings for Soulmate were not very good.
Yeah.
So
maybe this movie will get Batgirled.
Probably. If I were to take a guess.
Yeah. We're not surprised considering what's happened with the second movie. The Bible cinematic. You know what? Of all of those, I would probably take the Bible Cinematic Universe because there's actually
starting with
watchable.
David, that fucking Angel Studios movie.
Is that what that is? I thought it was more the Mel Gibson one, the Christ.
Or is it The Chosen?
Is it? I don't know. Caleb. Please specify. But does everything need to have a cinematic universe? Well, since the days of the MCU, that's why everybody else is chasing that golden goose. But let's keep on moving. We got a couple more quick hits to go, and then we got to get into some DC talk. In addition to the Megan news, we got to talk about some BAFTA film awards coming up next year because we talked about Oscars earlier.
Traitors host Alan Cumming to present
also Nightcrawler
BAFTA Film Award. So I mean, Alan Cumming, he is an absolute fucking legend. Just in anything he's ever done, just always bringing his A game, whether it's Nightcrawler or something silly like Nightcrawler and Doctor Who or, whatever he is in. I just think, God, what a fucking tremendous actor.
Look, Alan Cumming is gonna have a banner year in 2026, and that's not something I thought I would be saying, because between doing a new season of Traitors, the US version on Peacock, hosting the BAFTA Film Awards, and then also being in Avengers Doomsday as Nightcrawler, it's gonna be Alan Cumming's world. We'll just be living in it. So, yeah. Can't wait.
And then next up, Google honors John Cena with a special tribute for his retirement. The retirement that all the fans really loved and thought he had a very good send-off. That's totally what it is. But apparently, you can look here, and if you do,
come on, he went out. He went out on the mat, putting over the younger guy. That's how you do it. That's tradition. But yeah, everybody, I keep seeing it.
All my wrestling friends, all my friends who are wrestling fans, they're fucking pissed. They're like, that was bullshit. Triple H needs to be fucking strung up with rocks. Fuck that dude. This is fucking bullshit. Bullshit match. Blah blah blah. All that.
And no, I completely expected it. From the moment they announced this, I was like, John Cena's not gonna win his last match. That's not how you do it. It's tradition in wrestling that when you're retiring, you go out on the mat, aka you lose your last match, and you put the other guy over. The younger guy usually is, so that they can then build on it and take that momentum forward. So, Kevin, hey Kevin, but yeah, I watched it live. I've cried several times in that since then, and I've seen like literally every sports team jersey that John Cena ever wore during his Doctor of Thugonomics era, the all these other accounts, the MLB League account and all that, just the New York Jets and everybody else, the Boston Celtics, all post tributes to him, because again, John Cena's in-ring career, he was the face of the WWE for a better part of two and a half decades, and he's still the one of the best, if I think he is the greatest of all time, genuinely 17-time champion. And I keep saying it, his biggest accomplishment is nothing that he did in the ring, but the fact that he is granted the most Make-A-Wish wishes for kids, a lot of whom had terminal conditions, and just looked up to John Cena, and the fact he was just a role model, and he's genuinely a real person, really a good person in real life, I should say. Like he's not just somebody who's pretending to be a good guy in the ring. He is a good person in real life, and you don't see that very often, and especially when people who have that level of success. And so good to see him go out on a high note. Ultimately, I think the video they played at the end of the show, the tribute to him and everything, it came together, and you could tell, like in the WWE today, a lot of these wrestlers are allowed to kind of express their emotions rather than keep up the kayfabe, as it were, from back in the day. So it makes for a very different presentation.
The only wrestling fan I know that isn't like hating on this, like it's just
no, because it was never unexpected. I'm like, anybody who's hating on it doesn't know how wrestling works. So you need to just go back and look at history. Like Triple H lost his last match.
Because like, here's the thing, I am on like a kind of like hangout thing where there's a lot of wrestling fans, and like it's constantly every week they're constantly complaining about WWE. They like I think it's AEW, the other one, where AEW, they hate TKO, they hate WWE, they hate all this. They just it's just like 20-minute long rants and tirades about how terrible WWE is without Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon, he was a piece of shit, but like, it's so short-sighted
thinking. It's really short-sighted, because just 3 years ago, people were saying Vince is out of touch, he's completely lost it, and he's doing. And you know what? Honestly, I don't think we're ever gonna get Vince back, and rightfully so. I think the product is better today for having made those changes. Do I agree with everything TKO is doing, like slapping logos all over the ring and everywhere else, and marketing, just literally like making it look like you're watching, an F1 driver walk around with the million logos on their,
shoot the messenger. Okay, I'm just
like,
saying.
It's just, I don't like everything that they do. I mean, I'm a little biased because I may or may not
really
be
curious.
Work for TKO.
I'm gonna screen this. I'm really curious with how they react.
Nope, that's not true, Caleb. But like I'm a little biased to the TKO side of things, but nonetheless, I think for John Cena, like I grew up watching the man, and I think he's, like I said, he's genuinely a good person. And for him to lose his last match is exactly what should have happened. Like when Brock Lesnar retires, he will lose his last match. When AJ Styles retires, he will lose his last match. Ric Flair lost his last match. Shawn Michaels, Triple H, That's just how you do things. This is the age-old tradition in wrestling. If you don't know that, and if you were surprised by this, and even the tap out, the controversy around it, like he did it with like a smile on his face. It wasn't like he was, like, oh, I'm gonna pass out, or I'm like, it was very in jest. He didn't actually like give up or something. I think it was over the top, like what Michael Cole said with today, professional wrestling destroyed sports entertainment. I'm like, come on, Michael Cole, like seriously, fucking grow up. Like, we don't need to like get into all of that, because like this is what are you trying to do, like to further differentiate that a new era has now dawned all of a sudden, that sports entertainment is completely gone? Like, it's that part of it I didn't like. But anyway, let's move on, let's keep on going. We got one more quick hit to get into, John, before we move on to DC.
Also, before we move on, by the way, here we have the new Guile.
Yeah.
I love it. Just wanted to say that.
Yep.
Anyway, Merriam-Webster's word of the year for 2025 is slop, the AI-generated junk that fills our social media feeds. The word describes the onslaught of digital content of low quality that is produced usually in quantity with means of artificial intelligence. So, yeah, by means of artificial intelligence. So, yeah, I fully agree with this. I think it's kind of based that Merriam-Webster has fucking actually named this the word of the year. So that's pretty awesome. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, Gunther, by the way, is gonna get a massive push, hopefully, from retiring Goldberg and John Cena in the same year. But anyway, John, I think this is timely, right? Slop, AI slop, as in AI. It's the word of the year for Merriam-Webster. We talked about what was the word of the year for Oxford Dictionary?
I think it was 6-7.
Was it? It's not even,
not Oxford. No, it wasn't Oxford. It was dictionary.com. That's what it was. My bad.
Oh, okay. Well, let me actually look this up. Rage bait. We did talk about it. The Oxford Dictionary word of the year is rage bait. So rage bait and slop, certainly accurate. I think Enterprising is watching us a little bit behind, because his comments seem to be like always like 10 minutes ago from what we were talking about in the previous segment. But anyway, that's all the quickest we got here. So let us know in the comments down below what you guys enjoyed the most. What was it? Was it the quick hits? Was it the Warner Brothers Discovery sale talk, and them going with the Netflix deal, saying no thank you Paramount? Did you enjoy all the conversation about the Avengers Doomsday leaks and Spider-Man Brand New Day? What about Avatar, making it big? Avatar 3 still gonna have a huge opening weekend at the box office. And of course, James Cameron wanting to do that Terminator reboot. All that and so much more. We're not done yet, though, because, well, as John would say, the ride ain't over yet. And you know what? I'm gonna bring it back in because it's been a while. Where'd it go? It's time.
I mean, we're talking about wrestling, so
it's DC time.
It's another project that's been blessed from the beginning.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see
right there.
Hey, buddy, eyes up here.
Now you want to get nuts?
Let's get nuts.
Here we go.
Victory mine. Ask me how am I doing? I'm telling you, really, I'm doing sublime. I never wait in the stewardess line. I just go do it. I'm moving my time. Really had nothing to do with it. How am I moving? I'm moving like you want to shine. Follow my lead. Don't listen to lies. I had to put me all on the line. That's why I know that victory's mine.
I prefer Jared Leto.
Hunka hunka.
All right, welcome on into another episode of DCU Daily. Now we get into the DC talk proper. So we've got lots to get into. We got a lot of DC quick hits, lots of Zack Snyder, James Gunn talk for you guys, of course. And then we will talk about Supergirl. Of course, that's the next big project on the horizon for DC Studios. So we'll get into that and so much more. With me today, as always, of course, to talk DC, we've got John. John, what are you most excited to discuss on the DC front?
I mean, I like talking Supergirl stuff because that's the next thing, even though I'm not like the most excited for it. I like, maybe like talking about it more and more will get me excited for it. Kind of like Superman. I was not excited for Superman when it first got, announced because I didn't really want James Gunn to be the guy behind everything, even though I didn't hate him or anything. I'm just like, I don't think he's the right guy. But as we talked about Superman more and more, I did start to like it more and more. So hopefully we reach the point where I'm actually excited for it. So, yeah.
Yeah, we don't have a ton of Lantern stuff to talk about today, but we
Yeah,
did
good. Fuck
talk
that
about
shit.
it. Well, we talked about it a lot yesterday, so if you guys missed that, then definitely go back and check that out. Hunter Iggy asking, what are your thoughts on a test screening for Supergirl? You know what, Hunter, that's a
We're
good
gonna be
point.
getting into that.
We're gonna get into that. That's gonna be the main event of DCU Daily, so don't you worry. We'll be talking about it. But as I mentioned, we're gonna start off by getting into some DC quick hits. That's right. The parrots, ducks, and pelicans of DC News. So let's get into that, shall we, John?
The first thing we have is this is a variant cover from DC KO Boss Battles. It shows Superman versus Homelander because they're bringing that in. But we're going to be bringing that into the DCKO, like the whole thing with that universe. So yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna say this: if like Superman loses, that's just a big bowl of bull honky because we fucking know when these guys are matched up, we know who's fucking losing, and that's fucking titty milk addiction over here, fucking Homelander. Get out of there.
I just love the comments in this post because like everybody was like, "Oh, Superman's gonna make light work of Homelander. There's no way this is a fair fight." Even though the artwork here seems to depict that Superman's taken on more damage than Homelander has. It's just not a fair fight. Like,
but like,
unless you go
but
with
like, but he also has like his cape wrapped around his knuckles
Yeah.
and shit like that. This is looking like brawler Superman.
Yeah.
So
yeah, maybe more like Zack Snyder Superman than James Gunn Superman. I don't know. I'm just no, I think if this was the case, then yes, Superman would probably win the day. By the way, the Lobo versus Superman fight would be amazing. Thank you for the super chats. There's some geeky guy. I don't know if we're gonna get that anytime soon, but yeah, Homelander versus Superman. There you go. Looks nice, a DC KO variant cover. But speaking of DC Comics, John, they're on a bit of a roll here. They've just announced a few new titles that'll be coming out soon, including Batwoman. Yeah, and Lobo and Deathstroke. They're revamping all three of them for the Next Level initiative. Do you know more about? Can you tell us a little bit more about what this is and what to expect?
So after DCKO, Scott Snyder and Joshua Williamson will take DC All In to the next level, launching a series of bold creator forward number ones, kind of like what they're doing with the Absolute line. And it's going to be starring fan favorite characters and helmed by some of the best talent in comics. So you have Batwoman, Deathstroke, Etrigan the Demon, Firestorm, Lobo, Barbara Gordon, Zatanna, Teen Titans more. You have Jeff Lemire, who did the Absolute Flash. You have Greg Rucka, Javier Rodriguez, Jabal Campbell, Scotty Young, Margot Tamaki, Joshua Williamson. Just so many great noticeable names here. DC Comics has been consistently outselling Marvel Comics in 2025, mainly because of the Absolute line. And returning characters like all the ones that were mentioned is a smart move, as this article is saying. But Williamson is saying these books are set in continuity while the series will be independent reads and not heavily tied to other books. They will exist alongside DC's ongoing comic book series like Superman, Batman, Justice League Unlimited, and more. This line will launch similar to DC's Absolute line of comics. The DC Next Level books are very new reader friendly and will roll out over time like the Absolute line. This is an initiative that welcomes new readers that are looking for a jumping on spot for DC's main line of comic books, kind of like what Rebirth was back in the day, but trying it again, and hopefully it actually works this time. Yes, you are correct, Caleb. So in March, the first month of DC Next Level has a new series starring Lobo, Deathstroke, and Batwoman. Are three new books that stay true to the characters as they've appeared in DC All In and DC KO, but the creative teams will take them into new badass stories that explore different genres that any fan can dive into. So Lobo will come our way from Scotty Young and writer Scotty Young and artist Jorge Corona. And then Batwoman brings back acclaimed writer Greg Rucka. And then alongside artist Donnie, I'm not really familiar with them. So, and then finally Deathstroke is going to be written by Tony Fleeks and artist Carmine D. John Domenico. So we'll see how all of this pans out. Hopefully it's a success story because DC has just been really fucking killing it the past couple months. Ever since the Absolute line got released, that DC has been on top, and we'll see how this goes. So but yeah, so I think
fair point, bigger drawing though. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like in terms of, I mean, they do have. I think the thing that's going to kill Marvel is they're getting rid of the Ultimates line. The thing that like a lot of people seem to really love, Ultimate X-Men, Ultimate Spider-Man, all that stuff. The fact that they're killing that, but the thing is, the Absolute line has still been selling really well. All the new books like Martian Manhunter and The Flash and all that stuff, that's still being, they're still being acclaimed. A lot of it, like fucking Batman, went through its 10th reprint or whatever. So it's clear that this shit is successful, and I think DC will be climbing on top in the years to come. So
yeah, maybe Marvel can still be a power bottom. We'll see. But let's keep on rolling to the next thing.
But yeah, in terms of this, Superman star David Cornsweet inadvertently sparks fan speculation about DC Studios having finally cast Batman. So,
Ooh, this is one of those like, oh, I followed you on social media, therefore you must be in the next movie.
Yeah, we did briefly talk about this. And it's like, yeah, bullshit. That's literally it. It's just bullshit.
Basically, David Cornsweet followed Brendan Sklenar on social media, I think on Instagram. When you guys brought this up, I figured we mentioned it on the show today. Does that mean that Brendan Sklenar is all of a sudden going to be Batman? I don't know. It might just be that they came across each other or know each other somehow now, but yeah.
Or
who did he follow on
or
Instagram?
what would be really funny is like they actually like they're like, hey, yo, like David Cross was like, hey, people see like are talking about you being Batman, right? He's like, yeah, of course. He's like, what if you had like follow me and I follow you back, and then like people fucking go crazy and think you're Batman, and they're like, oh my god, that's so funny. I'm gonna totally do this. So yeah, that would be. Yeah, but like, who was the biggest box office this year for comic book movies?
Well,
oh yeah, DC.
Well, it's we don't need to pick sides. I think a healthy DC and Marvel is the best for both worlds, and that's what's best for the comic book genre as a whole. We don't want one to be struggling in the other way. Like, it's good competition, right? It's friendly competition as well. I mean, there's a reason why we're getting all of these
Jonathan
crossovers now.
Bailey as Bruce Wayne. I can't see him as Batman. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
but like,
yeah. I mean, both can prosper, and I think that's the best thing. In fact, we're getting more crossovers between Marvel and DC characters today than ever before because of the fact that we have the people in charge on both sides, and they're willing to work together. And we don't need to pick a side, right? I know that you're kidding, MTG. But speaking of crossovers, John, we now have a Superman Spider-Man crossover that Jim Lee just announced officially. Your thoughts on this? This looks pretty epic.
This was
very high profile.
Pretty sure the first crossover that was ever done between DC and Marvel way back in the day. I think this was like back in like the 60s, the 70s maybe, where the two of them cross over, and it's awesome. Awesome to see.
Yeah, officially announced. I mean, we got the Batman Deadpool crossover happening as well. Lots more beyond that. So this is going to be great. Again, if you guys are fans of like these kind of crossover events, it's a good time to be a comic book fan. Reading comics and appreciating what we get on the big screen and the small screen. So, yeah. And yeah, with that in mind, let's keep on going. We got a few more quick hits here to get through before we get to talk about Supergirl. The next one up is going to be
talking about Lobo. And honestly,
there you go, John.
So badly, like
a Michael Bay Lobo movie.
It was written by Jason Fuchs, who did Wonder Woman. He was one of the story writers for Wonder Woman. And the thing is, honestly, like, I know people don't like Michael Bay, but Michael Bay is weirdly perfect for something like Lobo. And the thing is, it would have made fun of Batman vs Superman, so that's like pretty good. Because again, like, it's so funny that DC like pushed like Harley Quinn as their Deadpool for like years, from like 2016 to like now. They're like, oh yeah, Harley Quinn is our Deadpool. It's like Lobo is right there. Like, Lobo is, I mean, I guarantee you he is going to get a solo movie after the Supergirl movie. I will guarantee that. Whether they want like Michael Bay to come back or not, who knows? But like, I remember Guy Ritchie was another name that was considered for this. He would be awesome. I mean, he's cranking out like 16 movies a fucking year in addition to the Gentleman TV show. So like he's just cranking them out. So it's just like, fuck it, get Guy Ritchie to do this. And how awesome Ungentlemanly Warfare was, boom, there you go. Perfect. So I think that would be awesome. So Jason Fuchs had this to say. I'm really excited to see Lobo finally make his appearance in the Supergirl trailer. I'd written a Lobo script many years ago for DC, which of all the things I've written that didn't get made, I think that Lobo script is my favorite because it was the tone of that film was Guardians of the Galaxy if Quentin Tarantino had directed it, which sounds bonkers as fuck. Honestly, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, to be fair, it has finally died down. I think DC has kind of realize there's still some vestiges of like Harley Quinn bullshit, like with the animated show that refuses to die and like a couple other things. But David Leitch, that was I think another name as well. But Fuchs went on to describe the extremely adult nature of the movie, going as far as to claim it would have made Deadpool appear family friendly by comparison. It was a hard R psychotic movie, very violent. It made Deadpool look like a Disney family film, kind of like Deadpool and Wolverine, which is probably why it ultimately didn't get made. The scribe was also asked if he had an actor in mind for the part while writing. In a curious twist of fate, Fuchs enthusiastically revealed Momoa. Who can play that role but Momoa? It was always, we never got to that stage we were talking to him, but it was always in my brain, Momoa. I mean, he looks like the fucking guy and his personality is the guy. So Fuchs revealed why the once promised film was ultimately scrapped and stated that a member of the Green Lantern Corps was supposed to appear in it alongside other characters from the DC Pantheon. Michael Bay was going to direct it, which would have been equally insane, but it was a weird time in the DC universe where it didn't quite fit into what they were doing. But yeah, I loved writing that script, and there was a Green Lantern involved. There were all kinds of fun DC characters who popped up in the context of that. The Green Lantern mentioned was likely Jack T. Chance, a Green Lantern who made his comic book debut in 1982, whom Fuchs said would have played a big role in the movie. There was a real fun dynamic between Lobo and Jack T. Chance. He was a huge part of the story. The writer further stated that the film would have featured the DC team Legion, Legion. I used a lot of Legion. Also, it was definitely a Lobo movie, but also in some ways a first film in what could have been a Legion series, which is Legion is kind of like Guardians-esque a little bit, and it kind of like the closest I can think. It's very different. I think Vril Dox, the second, is part of that. Captain Comet is part of that team as well. But he was talking about it. It was a pretty nutty movie. I remember there was a moment early in the script where there's a bad guy who pleads for Lobo's forgiveness by saying that he's got a mother to think about. And he says, please, what will become of my mother? What will become of Martha? And Lobo goes, what did you say? He goes, Martha, because it's my mom's name. Lobo goes, no way, your mom's Martha? My mom's Martha. He goes, yeah. And the bad guy's like really hopeful. And then Lobo blows his brains out and goes, what the fuck was that? That would have been Legion of the Superheroes and Legion are two different teams. Legion, Legion, is like a vigilante team that Vril Dox has been a part of in the comics, and Legion of Superheroes is its own thing. Two very different teams. Legion and Legion of Superheroes are two different teams. Different teams, guys. Hold on. Let me hang on a sec. I gotta bring up a picture of these because you fucking,
Also, not the X-Men Legion. That's also different.
Yeah. So this.
By the way, they should have told. They could still do this. Like, if that script somehow works in the new continuity, just bring it back and let James Gunn, decide if he wants to make that the Lobo movie.
Legion. This is what Legion is like. It's a team of like, again, it's Guardians of the Galaxy-esque. Vril Dox is there. So this is what Legion is. It's like Legion 90. There was a bot. There's a lot of Legions in there's a lot of Legion, like there's the Legion robot, there's Legion of Superheroes, there's the Legion of Doom. There's a lot of Legion stuff in DC. There's 4 different Legion things. So like I get the
one of them one of them is a Marvel thing, but yeah.
But yeah. So
yeah. Well, it looks and sounds like it would have been a great movie, especially if it was directed by Michael Bay and all his mayhem.
And I'm sure at some point they will. I don't think they'll make my Lobo, but I'm sure at some point you'll see a Lobo film come together because it's just one of the. I mean, it would be fucking fantastic. Because like Lobo, God damn, I want this to happen so badly. I'm pretty sure I have a version of it. I might have a version of it. Hang on, let me see. Curious, actually.
Caleb, careful. Anything that's a fun space adventure is obviously Guardians. Yeah.
No, it's not even fun. They're much dark. They're much darker. It's just like Guardians. Yeah. That's the easiest fucking thing because it's a team in space, but it's really not like fun, laughy, haha, joking. It's much more serious. But that was the best like thing I could come up with. So, you know.
Yeah. No, I think if the story, like I said, and what Eric is suggesting, it could work as in continuity with the DCU, which there's not a lot of continuity to as of yet to work with anyway. Like, you know, that might cause or give you restrictions, and especially if it's just a Lobo adventure, you could just kind of let it be. It's like its own little bubble, and then, you know, Lobo just kind of shows up wherever he needs to show up. The next movie. I do
actually have two Lobo scripts, not the Jason Fuchs version, but I do have one from 1998 written by Gerald E. Brown, and then I have one written by Angel Dean Lopez. So, just not the Jason Fuchs version. So,
I you know what? I still would love for this to happen. Bring in Michael Bay, give him the script, let James Gunn give the green light, and make this happen because I would love to see it. And I think the Batman v Superman joke would be a nice little, like, you know, reference to the old DCEU. But speaking of the DCEU, John, the next story we got to talk about is, well, World Peace happened twice in 1 year. Because it looks like James Gunn and Zack Snyder came together once more to pay tribute.
Well, I mean, they're not the ones coming. The Snyder fans are coming to, you know, Zack Snyder because that's all they come to. Because Senpai Snyder is the only. Remember, cinema wasn't invented until Zack Snyder came onto the scene with Dawn of the Dead in 2004.
Came onto the scene? Wow, John.
Yeah.
I see what you did there.
The link to this photo may have been broken, or the post may.
You just gotta hit. You gotta hit the link. Like, you visit Instagram. What?
I can't view it.
Oh, you know what? There's an age.
And I don't have.
Okay, there's an age restriction because it's like the zombie baby from the movie. It's practical VFX. It looks pretty gnarly. There's two photos. Basically, James Gunn and James Gunn and Zack Snyder did a collaboration post. They're both credited with the post, and they were just paying tribute to one of their early projects that James Gunn wrote and Zack Snyder directed. So, yeah, world peace once more. But you know what? We do have some more Zack Snyder stuff to get into. Of course, he's a busy man on Instagram, John, so let's dive into that. Posting another photo. This one, you know, you got a very shallow focus look at Man of Steel.
Yeah, it looks like almost like green screen because it looks like or they like
a promotional shot
over a blurry background or something.
Yeah, it looked a little out of place. It looks like it's from that scene when they're fighting in Smallville, but not quite sure. But nonetheless, it looks nice, iconic, according to Zack Snyder. Just some geeky guy thinks it's beautiful.
I think the staring at it for 5 hours makes it a little bit awkward to look at, but for the most part, it's a good looking image.
Yep.
Not the only one. I think this one of Anche Traue, I think that's how you pronounce her name.
Anche Traue.
Much better. Just saying, because I know
that's definitely a photograph like that was shot for real, not maybe with like portrait mode on an iPhone.
They're definitely looking better. Much, know, I like.
By the way, Anche Traue credited Zack Snyder for almost saving her career because she just thought she wasn't going anywhere with her acting career at the time. And I mean, she's a beautiful woman, and then also she was one of the best parts.
She was also in Dark.
She was in Dark, and I loved every bit of her character in Man of Steel because regardless of whether you like Man of Steel or not, the fact that they portrayed her as this, like, you know, character who wasn't just a henchman for Zod. I mean, she was in a way, but she was like her own character. Like, there was more depth to her than that. And then that little back and forth with Christopher Meloni's army colonel character that kind of had a full circle moment. Like, this is stories within a story. So Yeah, it was great. I still love those moments in the movie where clearly like she knows what she's doing with her powers, where Superman clearly is a little more rough around the edges in terms of just not having a fighting style developed yet, because he's not really been Superman for very long. But yeah, I mean, Gal Gadot almost played Faora at one point too. I mean, that could have been a very different Wonder Woman if Gal Gadot had ended up playing this role instead. Yeah, she was vicious. I think she was better than Ursula in Superman 2, quite honestly. I think Faora Ul is probably the best depiction of a Kryptonian villainous character outside, for a Kryptonian villainous character outside of Zod. That's my favorite depiction of any, antagonistic character from Krypton, outside of General Zod, which I think is Michael Shannon. That his iteration is my favorite, but yeah, if Cornsweat's Superman went up against Faora, there'd be a funeral right away for okay. Just a geeky guy. But hey, John, we always like to talk about how James Gunn is a big fan of. Is it a hot take, Tony? James Gunn, of course, is a big fan of animals. He's got cats, he's got dogs. But hey, I just wanted to post. Zack Snyder does put up other images on Instagram that are not DCEU related, and well, he's got his own dog. I'm sure maybe one of several. Oso, and I guess that also ties into our channel. Oso Curious in a way. I don't know. Cheap plug. But John, your thoughts? Zack Snyder also a fan of the dogs.
Yeah, very cute dog.
It's a really cute dog. And again, I'm just like, we want to give a fair shake to all the directors, and Zack Snyder also, somebody who's not just obsessing over his glory days in the past. He's got a life beyond that too. So I just wanted to give him a shout out there. Yeah, Zack Snyder's dog Oso. But hey, with that, we're gonna move into the main event of the show. Let's talk about Supergirl, of course. The movie is on the way. And well, it's gonna be the big staple movie, the big tentpole that DC Studio puts out next summer, Supergirl. And well, John, the teaser trailer's out, and the movie still isn't complete. They're still in post-production. Comes out next June. So with that in mind, they apparently have been doing more test screenings. There's reports out there. Again, take it with a grain of salt, because usually most of the time this is not true. But since this is out there, we're going to talk about it. Apparently, the response to this latest test screening was mostly positive, but we do have some new details about how much Lobo we might see in the movie, and apparently the villain is being described as underwhelming. John, why don't you walk us through these reports, and then also let's see what the veracity of these claims are. Like, who is it coming from?
So Daniel Richtman was saying he was the first to report that a test screening took place yesterday, revealing that he's heard nothing but good things from several people. However, trailer and runtime leaker Cryptic 4K Qual has brought us down to earth with a bump. Yes, Supergirl had a test screening, roughly 2 hours, 5 minutes from what I heard. The feedback was not that great, but it wasn't a bad film. Some scenes shined a lot more than others. Millie was praised for her acting in the role. Lobo has 2 fights. The villain is underwhelming. Superman also received mixed reviews from test screenings, but ultimately managed to score at 83% on Rotten Tomatoes tomato meter and won over fans in a big way. As always, it's best not to put too much stock into these early reactions, even if they obviously offer an idea of what to expect. So, I mean, I'm not like totally like surprised if this is true that Krem is kind of an underwhelming villain, because he kind of is a bit of a generic bad guy in the comic. It's just like he's a guy,
and it's not a story about the villain, like Brandon is
exactly.
saying here. Like he killed what you were gonna say. He killed Supergirl's parents, which
no, he kills Ruthie's dad. That was it.
Oh, Ruthie's dad. Right. Okay, that makes sorry. Which is again like it's a story about Supergirl and her journey. So I don't know how much Krem is gonna figure into the events of the movie, consider like whether they
that was
like
what it was.
Do a direct adaptation or not. So yeah, like Bane is saying too, the villain is not really the biggest part of the movie. But they were also talking about how people seem to love Lobo, like he's a hit with the fans, which not surprising. I mean, and honestly, we haven't really seen a lot of the movie other than the less than 2 minutes of footage we got in the trailer. So we like I said, just let's wait to make our judgments on this. By the way, I was going to mention in this reporting, they said that the current version of the movie is or the one that was screened was 2 hours, 5 minutes. I believe the last we heard from Peter Safran a few days ago when they were promoting the trailer for Supergirl. They were talking. He mentioned it was like an hour 50 or something like that. So that's a little off. So again, I don't know how much you want to believe this reporting. I would take Peter Safran's word over Daniel Rickman, even though he gets a lot right as a scooper. But it could just be that they've screened a version that's not the current working version of the movie. That could be it too. Also, you got to remember, yeah, like under 2 hours. I think that, yeah, that's what was said. But the point is, like, these test screenings usually are looking, they do them to look for specific points of feedback, and they give you the whole movie just so that they can, you know, get to see like, oh, how are they responding to this particular sequence? How are they responding to the characterization of, let's say, Supergirl, or does the ending work? And then they will ask questions and get feedback after the screening. But they might also be screening an older version of the movie if they're still working on maybe refining shots in another part of the movie, but that's not relevant to the entirety of the film and the points of feedback they're looking for. Like, they might want to know how the opening sequence plays for an audience, but the rest of the movie might have rough VFX shots. They're still going to screen that version of the movie while they replace the other shots with finished VFX shots, and then go back and maybe do another test screening. So we know with DC, they did screenings for Supergirl and Superman, confirmed by the trades, with a very small inner circle of James Gunn and Peter Safran's, you know, closest friends and family, like what Marvel does a lot of the times, as well as the people who work at DC Studios. So I don't know if this means that this would be a screening that was open to like the public that got an invite. Not a lot of details here, John. What do you think is going on at this point? Because, well, the reception is mostly positive, and
it's
the downsides are expected.
You
like,
know,
do you think this means they're pretty far along in the process? Like, what do you think is going on? Where are we in the post-production stages, if you were?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're pretty close. They probably have most VFX shots done. They probably have all that. So I can imagine that that they're pretty. I mean, they still have another 6 months to do. So they're probably like, you know, it's probably a rough cut. If I were to like, probably the roughest of cuts, maybe like some more like VFX stuff needs to work. Maybe they're gonna brighten some scenes. You know, I'm not a huge fan of test screenings for like normal audiences, because then, you know, it's like, oh, the movie's terrible. So we'll obviously see, but yeah.
Yeah, well, again, test screenings always take them with a grain of salt. Even if this report is completely true, you got to remember the version of the movie they're seeing is a working version that they want feedback on that informs the final version of the movie. So what we will get to see will probably be different. All right, Tony's taking the boom tube to bedtime. That's good. All right, Tony, have a good night. We're almost done here too, by the way. Look, all the reporting around test screenings always don't, you know, just take them with a grain of salt. Don't put a lot of stock into them. Remember, we talked about this with the Batman. We talked about it with Superman. They don't always reflect the actual movie's reception and what people might say about it once it comes out. So, and none of this sounds all that bad, like you said, Enterprising. So at the end of the day, I think we're in safe hands. But you guys let us know what you think about the report. Do you believe it? Do you think the villain will be underwhelming, like a lot of you guys are saying in the book he was, and Krem of the Yellow Hill may not have a big role to play at all, or certainly not one that's significant to the story in a big way? But as long as they love Supergirl, as long as Lobo is a hit, I think that's what they will, you know, hope for. And then hopefully it's a story that is worth watching and watching more than once. I think this movie needs to be rewatchable. That's how it will have success, when it's got so much of the competition next year. But John, to finish things off, the marketing campaign has started, and Jim Lee is getting in on the action. Of course, he announced the Superman Spider-Man crossover, but he's also been working on this amazing sketch of Millie Alcock's version of Kara Zor-El with her costume in the movie. What do you think about this artwork from Jim Lee? I know you're not always a big fan of Jim Lee, but what do you think about this artwork?
I think this looks pretty damn good, especially the watercolors. I love the watercolors. I think this looks pretty damn awesome. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, it does look pretty amazing, and yeah, doing it in watercolor, that just gives it a very, very different vibe, especially considering that the movie is going to look a little bit darker, grittier. This is a very different look, and I love it. It kind of, you know, puts her in a slightly more ethereal light, if you want to call it that. But with that, John, let's wrap things up with James Gunn wishing everybody happy holidays. And it's that time of the year. We're 1 week away from Christmas. Your thoughts on this artwork? Very different intentions between Clark and Kara.
The watercolor was good, but yeah, for the most part, Jim Lee's kind of overrated a little bit. So,
what do you think about this greeting from James Gunn,
Very
wishing
cute.
everybody happy holidays?
Very, very cute. So
you got Superman with Crypto in the back. Crypto, being his very cute self, as it were. What does that say? Best son ever? Oh yeah, that's what Kara's working with.
Mm-hmm.
The drawing of Kara almost looks like they photoshopped her, like Millie Alcock's actual face into it, doesn't it? Whereas
I think they maybe took a picture of her and painted it over,
like maybe applied a filter on it.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, James Gunn said, "Love your family this holiday, no matter how messy they might be. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas," and with a heart emoji. Who does he give the credit for the artwork? Jason Bedover? Bedover? Yeah. Crypto biting Superman's sleeve. Yeah, that was the
tug on Superman's cape. Anyway.
Happy holidays, cuz it looks like Kara is throwing a party at the Fortress of Solitude, and Superman's like, "This is no longer the Fortress of Solitude when you were around and Crypto's hanging out here." But yeah, happy holidays and Merry Christmas indeed. John, with that, I think we're going to wrap things up tonight. Thank you all for joining in and being part of the conversation. If you haven't already, hit the like button on your way out. We appreciate it, whether you're watching live or after the fact. Thank you for being in the live chat. Hit subscribe if you're new. We're here 5 days a week. And hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. We will be live again tomorrow, Thursday, December the 18th, which actually, by the time we're finishing this show, depending on where you're watching and what time zone, it's already Thursday, December the 18th. So we encourage you to go check out the new movies that are coming out now. Avatar: The Way of Water is out. Go get a look at that Avengers Doomsday first teaser for yourself. Like, watch the Odyssey teaser. There'll probably be other trailers and teasers playing ahead of the movie, and then we'll go check it out. We'll talk about it. We'll review the movie. I'm sure we'll talk about the box office, and we'll keep following the latest in DC news as well, whether it's Lantern, Supergirl, Clayface, and all the other good stuff that James Gunn may or may not say, or Zack Snyder may or may not post. So hit that like button on the way out. It is 1 week officially now till Christmas. So look up and look out, and we'll be back tomorrow with another episode of DCU Daily.
It's another project that's been blessed from the beginning.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see
right there.
Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
Now you want to get nuts?
Let's get nuts.
Here we go. Victory mine. Ask me how am I doing? I'm telling you, really, I'm doing sublime. I never wait in a stewardess line. I just go do it. I'm moving my time. Really had nothing to do with it. How am I moving? I'm moving like you want to shine. Follow my lead. Don't listen to lies. I had to put me all on the line. That's why I know that victory's mine.
I prefer Jared Leto.
Hunka hunka!
Fuck Jeff Snyder forever and always, and Tom King. Fuck Tom King too.
Got it.